Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the 16th episode of the story in which Naruto almost dies at Final Valley, but fate still wants him to live. The Shinigami takes an interest in Naruto and makes him its first summoner. Watch Naruto as he shows the world what it's like to summon the Death God. This story comes from Kyubi-Goku. Make certain to support him, her. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. Nighttime, land of demons. 5 figures loomed in the darkness of the forests as they peered through the trees to see a large shrine compound. 4 of the 5 grinned to themselves, not wanting to wait to complete their objective. Each of them wore the same attire, consisting of a white GI-style clothing with a hexagram symbol on each of their clothes. At the bottom of these clothes were certain trigrams to each set of the individual's clothing. There was one each for water, lightning, fire, and wind. The obvious leader quickly turned his head towards the team. "Is everything ready?" he asked. This man was tall in comparison to his followers. He had black long hair, light tan eyes with black pupils, and a facial goatee. He wore a gray attire, a black trench coat, and martial artist shoes. His eyes glared hatefully at the place in front of him before the one standing at his side bowed. "Hi Yomi-sama. We're ready to proceed at your leisure. We are your most loyal followers," the obviously identified young man next to him said. The oldest of the group nodded before turning around. "Very good. Kusuna, Jitai, Setsuna, Shizuku, why are we doing this?" The man identified as Yomi asked, and the other 4 bowed again. They spoke in correct unison towards their leader. "To the resurrection of our Lord, the great Morio-sama," they said together, and Yomi gave a dark grin with a firm nod of his head. He walked to the back of the 4 as they stood in a single file line. "Yes, that's right. This is our time. The time of our great Lord Morio. He will lead us to the place of greatness. Strike fear into their hearts and claim the priestess, Cheyenne. I expect nothing but the best from you," Yomi said, getting Kusuna and his team to nod quickly. "Kyoka Shoho, Chakura Chunyu, strengthening prescription, chakra injection," Yomi shouted, and his hands were covered in dark chakra. The sounds of intense hissing were heard as dark, purplish snakes slithered from his hands before they quickly shot forward and bit into the necks of Kusuna, Setsuna, Jitai, and Shizuku. The 4 widened their eyes and gasped, but quickly found themselves being filled up with medically altered chakra. Soon their bodies changed, their faces changed, everything about them changed. Their hair grew out of control and the muscles appearing to their arms were evident. "Go and let them know fear," Yomi said, and the 4 shot off to the unsuspecting shrine compound. "Katan, Hibashiri, fire release, running fire," Jitai shouted, and guards of the priestess compound suddenly found buildings burned alive and destroyed while the 4 dropped to the ground. "For Morio-sama," they shouted and quickly began to lay waste to the compound while Yomi looked out from his spot on the hill. "This will be the day. A day of utter reckoning," Yomi said, getting a dark chuckle as he said those words and laughing from his place to see the destruction. It was a good night to release a demon after all. There could hardly be as great a night as this, that's what Yomi figured. 1 week later, Uzushiogakure, the sounds of shouting could be heard deep within the hilltops of the homeland of the Uzumaki. To be more precise, these were the sounds of intense training as the light of the sky showcased the young blonde, Naruto Uzumaki, charging towards his mother/lover, Kushina Uzumaki. The 2 quickly clashed, swords flaring their chakra towards each other, and Kushina couldn't hide the smirk on her face while Naruto could hardly do the same. On the sidelines, those watching were Suiran, Dan, Kimimaro, Gari, Yahiko, and the Shinigami. The latter was obviously looking at the 2 in front of him closely. "You've stuck to Kenjutsu Sochi. Don't you think that's unfair to Pakura-san?" Kushina asked, jumping back once Naruto sent a kick her way. Naruto's eyes quickly locked on her elegant form once she backed away into the trees. "Do you think I'm feeling unfair, Pakura-chan?" Naruto asked mentally to Pakura had synchronized her soul with Naruto. She stayed within her blonde master's body sitting cross-legged while holding a hand sign. Not at all, Shikio-sama. In fact, I think I'm feeling a little bored here, Pakura answered, and Naruto grinned and held out his hand. Shikuden, Kajisatsu, Scorch Release, Extremely Steaming Murder, Naruto and Pakura shouted at the same time. Kushina widened her eyes before noticing 5 white fireballs dance around Naruto's body until the blonde jumped forward. With another shout, Naruto sent one forward towards his mother and Kushina took cover behind the bark of a tree. The fireball blasted into the trees and effortlessly consumed it in a roaring inferno of white flame. Naruto jumped to the ground, but noticed that his mother was gone. "Thank you, Chiriku," Kushina said, causing Naruto to turn around and notice Chiriku holding Kushina before setting her down. The young blonde raised an eyebrow while Chiriku suddenly bowed. "Hi, Kushina-san. It's my duty as a summon to protect you," Chiriku said while Kushina stood to her feet. It was then that Naruto and Pakura found themselves surrounded by Kushina's own summons. Asuma Sarutobi, Tuka Senju, Deidara from IWA, and Akasuna no Sasori were all the people that Kushina had collected herself. Turns out that Kushina could do the same as Naruto could with having summons, and the Shinigami allowed it because as Naruto's limiter of power to keep from potentially losing control, Kushina had gained a large portion of her own Honshu, and as such she could call on people as well. That didn't mean that some of them were happy about it. "Damn it, why am I working for this bitch again? Even Gari is working for this punk brat," Deidara said, getting Sasori to turn to him. "Deidara, be quiet. Also be respectful to our masters. They have the ability to decide both our fates. If either is in need of my service, then I'll gladly give it rather than having my soul taken to the Shinigami," Sasori with folded arms. Deidara sucked his teeth before shrugging his shoulders. "You got a point there, Sasori no Danahum. Well, let's hurry up and get Shikio-sama's training over with." "Ugh, I feel like I want to vomit when I said that," Deidara shivered. Naruto looked through them all as Asuma held up his knives, Tuka bowed slightly before taking a short sword, Deidara held open his hands, and Sasori, rather intriguingly, constructed his Honshu into small white wires that stuck to each individual's body. "We're going to get started, Shikio-sama," Asuma said with a grin that Naruto really didn't appreciate. 6 against 2 Ka-chan. And I can't even use the others? Isn't this unfair? Naruto asked. Swearin giggled to herself while Yahiko and Dan sighed. Kimimaro remained emotionless while Gari rubbed the back of his head. "Life isn't fair, Sochi," Kushina shouted, jumping down towards her son. "Be prepared, master," Tuka said, alerting Naruto and Pakura. The two quickly found themselves on the defensive as Naruto had the trouble of blocking everyone in his way. This was more senjutsu training from Shin. Naruto spent the last week training in the ways of the death god, and he'd finally made it this far with Pakura and the others. Naruto knew that he couldn't say that he was proficient, but he was getting the idea of it all. Naruto grabbed a tree branch and hoisted himself over, only to notice a small white orb in front of his face. Naruto widened his eyes while Deidara's smirk increased in size. "Katsu!" Deidara shouted, and the white orb effectively exploded, covering Naruto's body. Kushina gave a small smile, but it lessened when Naruto was spotted above the smoke. "Ready, Pakura-chan?" Naruto asked, and Pakura smiled. "Hi, Shikio-sama," Pakura said as Naruto slapped his hands together. Shikuden, Taju Hitoma, Scorch Release, Many Fireballs, Naruto and Pakura shouted with the air around the blonde's body being littered with hundreds of white fireballs. "Oi oi, that's not funny, Deidara shouted, and Naruto did the same as he grabbed his sword and swirled through the air. "Yuzu no Fukushu, Dai Uzumaki Ikari, Whirlpool Revenge, Great Maelstrom Rage," Naruto shouted, and along with the raining fireballs came the rain of water missiles. Sasori cursed before he flicked his arms and brought back everyone else into cover. Tuka quickly weaved some hand signs and slammed the ground. She then noticed Kushina do the same with a small smirk on her face. Doton, Dorihiki, Tuka Senju said while Kushina shouted right after her. Fuinjutsu, Jinchi, Sealing Art, Encampment, Kushina called out and the earth wall was protected by a blue barrier of seals until the fireballs and water shots banged against the structure shaking it violently. Kushina brushed her chin while Deidara fell to the ground. You fuckers don't joke, do you? You really had to call me, didn't you? Deidara asked and Kushina shrugged her shoulders. You're much more useful to me than just floating around in empty space databane, Kushina replied while Deidara sucked his teeth. Asuma looked up at the structure and scratched his cheek. How long is that going to help us? He asked and Kushina sighed. Apparently not long enough, Kushina said and suddenly everyone heard spiraling. Deidara, Tuka, Sasori, Chiriku, Kushina, and Asuma looked up to see the Jikuyugami in front of them. Inside the barrier. They watched as Naruto popped out of it with a mad grin on his face, but what concerned Kushina was the Rasengan in his hand. It was pure white with just a hint of red at the center of it. Naruto shouted at the top of his voice as his Rasengan slowly grew in size. Holy shit! Deidara shouted. Everyone quickly gathered around Kushina and focused their chakra. It wasn't an instant, but Kushina was warped away as Naruto spoke. My newest technique. Tell me how you like it, Naruto said as he slammed into the ground with it. Shikuden, Rasen Kajo, Scorch Release, Spiraling Extreme Steam, Naruto and Pakura yelled in complete unison. Everyone was surprised when the area was covered in a blinding explosion of white light. Suiren and the others couldn't resist the urge to cover their eyes as they floated away. Kushina blocked her own eyes, but she knew she didn't have to worry about her summons. They would be fine since they were already dead. She at least hoped, anyway. Nearly everyone missed the miraculous explosion of harmony between Naruto and Pakura as the spiraling sphere dug into the ground, burning it extensively, even charring the dead center of it while the others floated away. This is the product of distant Senju blood, Uzumaki blood, and even very distant Uchiha blood. Incredible, but as expected from Shikio-sama, Tuka said while Asuma sighed. He's going to be a riot when he gets older, he returned to her. Soon the light faded from everyone's view and the sight surprised them as they noticed Naruto standing in the dead center of a steaming, medium-sized crater with his hand extended. The blonde slowly panted and the sweat dripped from Pakura's face showing that she had been panting as well. Naruto dropped to his knees and chuckled breathlessly while Pakura's hands dropped to her knees. Pakura-chan, that was awesome. Naruto said and Pakura nodded though Naruto couldn't see it. I agree, Shikio-sama. We've achieved a lot today. However, we still couldn't get your hair to change like last time, Pakura answered, but Naruto waved off her concern. One step at a time. Considering how we were a week ago, then I'd say we did good, Dadabayo, Naruto said and Pakura shared in his sentiments. That is enough. The dark voice of the Shinigami rang through everyone's ears. Kushina sheathed her sword while her summons bowed then took up residence within her blade. Naruto nodded and Pakura slowly released herself from Naruto's body allowing them to separate from each other. Pakura stood next to the others while Shin floated down to Naruto. You will stop here. It seems that you are able to deal with them individually, but now you will focus on dealing with two at one time. This requires an intensive amount of concentration and trust to do. More so than before, but I will not deny your progress. However, I still feel your hesitance. You refuse to completely give yourself over to the link between yourself and your summon. During your last mission, without your knowledge, I observed you. You took notice of your body. How did you feel when you used it? Shin asked and Naruto thought back to the time of his most recent S-rank mission. His assault of that crime syndicate. Well, Sasuke said that my hair was silverish instead of its normal color. He also said that my eyes were silver, and instead of the white fire that was coming from me, it was now silver or something like that, Naruto said, and Shin nodded. Correct. That is the sage mode that I created. You only used it for a short while, but you could feel each and every single dead person within this realm, couldn't you? Shin asked, and Naruto found that to be right. He nodded fervently to what his boss summon was saying. Explain to me why you feel the need to trust your summons with your body, Shin said, and Naruto shivered slightly at a lingering feeling, but pushed it down as being of no importance to the issue at hand. But I don't have a problem with it. I don't believe that I do anyway. Besides, didn't you tell me to be careful, because if I let this happen too many times then I might have trusted the wrong person with my body, then they might be able to take me over? Naruto asked, and Shin sighed. I warned you against that, yes, but that does not excuse your blatant mistrust. If that were the only issue, then this would be resolved already. Do you believe that any of them would want to do harm with your body? Shin asked, staring at the six of them. Suiren, Dan, Yahiko, Pakura, Kimimaro and Gari looked down towards Naruto while the blonde looked back up at them. He looked them all over and over before shaking his head. No, I don't. I have a feeling when I pick people. I feel like I can understand their intentions of that happened, Naruto replied. Kushina narrowed her eyes to what she heard. Meanwhile, Shin folded his arms and glared down to the young Uzumaki. This obviously stems from your trust issues with your childhood that has come over to your present life, Shin said, and Kushina widened her eyes. They suddenly lost nearly all warmth and a small frown marred her features. Naruto balled his fists while Kyuubi cracked open one eye towards that remark. You're saying that this is Kyuubi's fault? If it you are, then it isn't. He has nothing to do with this. Naruto growled out, but Shin seemed hardly fazed by such a thing. I never said that the Kyuubi was the cause of this. More to the point, I have lived for a long time, a very long time. I have lived longer than Kyuubi, the Rikudo Sennin, or even the Jubi. I know more about your kind than I truly care to realize. It is clear that when you are clear of these insecurities, then you will move further. I chose you as the one to show me interesting things, Shikio. I will not allow the manifestation of my power to have a wayward heart. Now since you seem to believe differently, then I will see what you can do for myself, Shin said, and pointed his purple finger towards Naruto, making the blonde widen his eyes. Naruto Uzumaki, until I allow it you are not to call forth any of your summons, Shin said, and Naruto gawked. Pakura and the others gasped while Kushina narrowed their eyes. Pakura, having sort of been the closest to Naruto, quickly dropped down. How are we supposed to help him then? Pakura asked, and Shin turned his eyes towards her. You aren't going to. He has survived long enough to know when you aren't needed. Now I never said that you wouldn't summons, but these six, until you learn to appreciate what you have, will not be called out. However, I don't need you to be so unevenly matched if this is what you believe I'm doing. So I'll grant you one more power. Along the ranks from Tamashii to Shinigami, there is a rank that is very unique. Uzumaki Naruto will be granted 3 Shinju, Death Beast, Shin said, and Naruto blinked. What is a Shinju? Naruto asked, and Shin held out his hand, and Naruto noticed a formless monster. It had jagged teeth for a mouth and see-through body as it appeared in his hand. Beasts that hold no allegiance towards mankind. Only spirit kind. They act upon the orders of their masters. Entirely filled with Honshu, they are the ideal summon in times of great need. The Shinigami spoke, and Naruto looked at the beast in front of him before it faded out. So how do I summon those? Naruto asked, and the Shinigami folded his arms. First you will focus on acquiring these 3. Once you have your first one, then I will teach you to summon it. Know that I will not give you one. You will acquire these on your own, but I'm sure that you'll be fine, Shin said, and Naruto looked down to the ground while Shin turned around. Summons or not, if you go against my orders, then I will take your soul without question. Do not Help! Shikio! Shin said dangerously, and they all balled their fists, but hung their heads down. Pakura did the same, and one by one they regressed into Naruto's sword. Shikio-sama, I will be watching. You have me at your side forever. Please remember that, Pakura said, vanishing into the sword as well. The Shinigami then faded out of sight, leaving Naruto and Kushina alone. I know Naruto. I know why he's doing this, but I won't tell you. I also know why you are hesitant. You might have changed my opinion of you, but as long as I know your true self, then there is little that you can ever do about it. I know the secrets of your heart. You also know who's responsible for it. It's not myself and it's not Konoha, but you know that, don't you? Humph, well, if you're anything like I believe you are, then you'll overcome it. You're annoying like that, Kyubi thought to himself before closing his eyes to go back to sleep. However, if On looked at the swishing of his tails, then they would see that there were now 4 white tails and 5 regular ones. The base of one of the 5 tails was just a little bit of white that could be seen. With the others having left, Kushina dropped down next to Naruto and gently took her son's hand. Naruto glanced up to her and he noticed her looking at him sympathetically. Sochi, will you be okay? Kushina asked, and Naruto's response was to lay his head on his mother's shoulders. I don't get it, Ka-chan. I just don't get it. What am I supposed to do? I've never had a problem trusting someone, but they have been with me since I started this thing, Naruto said, and Kushina sighed. Naruto, would you say that Pakura with your life? Kushina asked, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Definitely, Naruto said, and Kushina nodded. Kimimaro? She asked, and Naruto, once again, nodded to her words. Yeah, Naruto said, and Kushina then decided on something else. Gari-san? Kushina asked, and Naruto stiffened. I don't think so, Naruto said, and Kushina offered a gentle smile while she began to stroke her lover's soft hair. That's why, Sochi. You haven't been around Yahiko-san, Sueren-san, or Gari-san long enough to have the amount of trust that you have with Pakura, Dan, or Kimimaro. Trust is easy to destroy, but requires time to build. I know one day you will trust them all without complaint, Kushina answered, and Naruto just gave a small dejected nod of his head. Now let's go back and wash up, because I do think that you have a mission today with Kakashi and Sasuke, Kushina replied, and Naruto immediately straightened up and agreed. Planting a small kiss to her lover's cheek, Kushina gave an assuring smile to Naruto that everything would be all right for him. The Uzumaki duo quickly shot off for their compound to go get Naruto ready for his mission. Room, with Konan. Konan sat on her bed meditating about the things that she had learned. It had been a week of her being here under Uzumaki guard, and Konan could say that it wasn't like she thought. She figured that she would be interrogated for information already. She could get the feeling that Kakashi and Yugao wanted to do that the most, but not as much as the others. She didn't know why actually. However, now that she thought about it, with the things she had learned, she probably wouldn't mind giving out information to them. Konan was conflicted. On the one hand, she had Nagato, her only living friend who needed her just to probably stay sane. Then there was her recent conversation with Yahiko. Now that was a surprise. Konan couldn't deny that once she recounted their life, then Akatsuki had gotten off its purpose. On one side she had Nagato and on the other was Yahiko. What was Konan supposed to do? She didn't know for once. As calculating as she still didn't know how to make something like this work. Maybe if I found a way for Yahiko to see Nagato? Would that work? I doubt that it would. First I would have to find out who this Shikio is so I can plead with him to even let me get that far. Yahiko said that he would tell me when I was ready for it. So that means that he thinks I'm not ready right now. It has to at least be someone on this island or in this compound, but that's too many people. I know it's a man because Yahiko said that he would show himself. Uchiha Sasuke, Hatake Kakashi, Hozuki Suigetsu, Tenbin no Jugo, Uchiha Itachi, Momochi Zabuza, Uzumaki Yukimaru and Uzumaki Naruto. That is a lot of groundwork to cover. Not to mention that it's been a week since I have been gone. Nagato will probably assume the worst. I don't want that to happen, Konan thought to herself over and over until she felt a tap on her leg. She slowly opened her eyes and she took in the form of the second youngest Uzumaki staring at her. Yuri gave Konan a small smile along with a light wave. I was worried since I didn't see you for dinner. What are you doing in here? Yuri asked and Konan slowly sighed to herself. You love to intrude upon people's business, do you not? Konan asked and Yuri scratched her cheek. Well, forgive me before being worried, Databayan. Nichan, Kakashi-san, Sasuke-san, and Yugao-san are leaving on a mission. I'm going to miss them. Well, I'll still have Zabuza-sensei to train with. He's fun. Yuri said and Konan looked out of the window to see the sunny fields of the backyards of the compounds. You felt that you needed to tell me this? Konan asked and Yuri gave a defeated sigh, then leaned back into the chair that was away from Konan's bed. Can you be a proctor to the Fuinjutsu Ascension exams? Yuri asked and Konan narrowed her eyes slightly to Yuri's plea before shifting her shoulder and her legs to get comfortable. She was sure that this was going to be some explaining. Might I ask why? Konan asked and Yuri gave an awkward laugh that made Konan narrow her eyes a little further. Well, we're running short. Kamachi Nichan and Karen Nichan said that they would do it, but we also need challengers against me, Taiyuya, Uranichan, and Yukimaru-kun. And who's better than an S-rank kunoichi? Yuri asked. Konan looked at Yuri emotionlessly for a while and it was long enough for Yuri to feel some discomfort. Then have Itachi fight you. He's an S-rank shinobi, so he'll help you improve, Konan said dismissively. She then seemed startled when Yuri jumped to her feet. No. No, 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 no. It has to be you. Yuri said and Konan raised an eyebrow. Akatsuki or not, when I fought you I respected you. I can feel it, I believe that you're stronger than Itachi. I want to fight you again. To protect my family I need to see how strong I am against a real kunoichi. Mikoto-san and Kushina-san would just hold back, but I know you wouldn't. Please, be a proctor, Yuri bowed and Konan watched her do the act before looking away. Please raise your head. An Uzumaki shouldn't bow their heads to others so easily, Konan spoke, but Yuri shook her head making her red hair flow over her face. I won't until you agree, Yuri said and Konan folded her arms. Why are you using me as a standard? Konan asked and Yuri then held up her head trying to show the blue-haired woman her resolve. Her eyes burning with desire and conviction, she stood to her feet and pointed towards Konan. To surpass you, to surpass Kushina-san, to surpass Mikoto-san. My dream is to support Nichan's dream. I will be the one to change the nature of Fuinjutsu. I will show the world the power of the Uzumaki clan. For that to happen then it will start with you, Yuri said and Konan narrowed her eyes forward. The sheer audacity of Yuri's words alone had managed Konan to nearly turn her down, but the way she said that just made Konan swallow those words into nothingness. You believe that if you beat me then the world will acknowledge you? Konan asked and Yuri snorted. I don't care about the world's acknowledgement. So long as Nichan and my family acknowledge me then the world can go fuck itself. However, I will show it our family's power. I will bring back the lost art of Fuinjutsu. Yuri said and Konan sighed to herself. She looked out the window for a little bit until Yuri noticed a smile had marred her face. Very well. I will indulge you, but this is what you requested. I will not hold back for you as you wish. However, it will be to you to convince your family to allow me my chakra. I will become a proctor if you so wish, Konan answered with a bow and Yuri gave a large smile. That's great, Databayan. Thank you. Yuri said before closing the door to Konan's room. Konan heard her retreating footsteps before leaning back into her bed. What had she gotten herself into now? Living room. Naruto tightened the clips on his shoes. He tightened his sword to his waist and wrapped his scarf around his neck. Sasuke did the same as Naruto had done and placed his sword into its hilt. Kakashi finished wrapping his scarf around his neck while taking his father's sword from its rest near the table. Yugao flipped her purple hair, then wrapped her scarf around finally. She checked her sword before closing it shut. "Are we ready?" Naruto asked, and the three others nodded their heads. Ready as ready can be, but you would think that Godame-sama would be a little more relaxed. "I wonder what's so dangerous about this mission that she needs 4 of us to go," Yugao spoke and Kakashi sighed. Given the missions we take on a regular basis, then it's understandable." "Naruto, you're going to be leading the mission this time, so you understand what needs to be involved, right?" Kakashi asked, and Naruto quickly nodded. "Yeah, I got it. Bachan gave us the scroll stating that Team Yamato would be joining us. I didn't expect that, so I guess I'll have to think of something for them." "When are we supposed to meet them?" Naruto asked, and Yugao sighed dejectedly. 2 hours ago, she said, and Naruto grimaced while Kakashi smirked beneath his mask. "I can't believe this. Can we just get a move on?" Sasuke asked. Kushina and Mikoto came up to them before smiling. "Do well, you 5. Yuna, make sure to keep Sasuke out of trouble. We both know how he can get," Mikoto giggled out while Yuna nodded, much to Sasuke's chagrin. "Understood, Mikoto-sama. I'll be sure to do that," Yuna said, and Mikoto nodded before moving back. Then Kushina stepped forward and cleared her throat. "Yugao, remember when you asked about myself and my son?" Kushina asked, and Yugao slowly nodded, and everyone was surprised, even Naruto, as Kushina grabbed his collar and claimed his lips. Kakashi widened his visible eye while Mikoto blinked. Sasuke pinched the bridge of his nose at the scene in front of him. Yuna already knew, so she didn't really care. Yugao, well, she was rather. Still of it had to be given a word. "So that's why they've been so close. I always thought it was because Naruto never knew his mother, but I never thought this. Jiraiya-sama, I now understand what you meant before. Ika Ika Forbidden Love. I can't wait to read it," Kakashi thought. Naruto widened his eyes to his mother's lips as she swirled her tongue around in his mouth. Kushina gave a small moan as she showed everyone that she was no longer concerned with how they thought. This was what she wanted. "Ah. Yuri-nichan, Kushina-san is trying to get one over on us," the others heard Yuri cry out as she came from around the corner along with Yura. "KK Kushina-san, how bold are you do that with Nisama? In front of everyone?" Yura asked, and Kushina backed away, then licked her lips. "Yeah. I can be that bold too," Yuri shouted, and before her sister could stop her, Yuri lunged for Naruto and claimed her fellow Uzumaki's lips, leaving Naruto more dazed than before. Yuri smiled as she wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck, biting on his lower lip as she usually did if they showed affection. Why Yuri, even you?" Yura shuddered out her voice. Naruto soon got over his shock before lightly caressing Yuri's soft hair. Yuri moaned until the two parted and she backed away. "Be safe, Nichan. Nichan, get over here and give Nichan a goodbye kiss," Yuri called out, and Yura's eyebrow twitched. Her face quickly brightened up while she looked at the ground. "Jiraiya-sama, this goes even above forbidden love. This is Ika Ika Forbidden Paradise." Kakashi squealed to himself. Sasuke actually found that he couldn't say anything. He was attracted to Yuna, so he didn't care, but then again seeing this was different. Yugao just threw her hands into the air. The purple-haired former Umbu just didn't care anymore. Let people do whatever the hell they want. She was about to get a headache already. Better hurry or the opportunity will be gone. Databane. If you don't want to lose him, then show initiative, Kushina said, pushing Yura forward until she slowly banged against Naruto's frame. Yura shivered against Naruto's body before looking up to see Naruto smiling at her. "Do I get one, Yura?" Naruto asked, and Yura swallowed the lump in her throat. "Ni-sama," Yura said before closing her eyes and leaning forward. Naruto took the hint and leaned down. Yura felt the softness of Naruto's lips while her hands rested on his broad torso. "Ni-sama, we haven't kissed in a while. I miss your taste," Yura thought to herself as she continued to pleasantly kiss her lover. She snaked her hands around his neck while Naruto did the same to her waist. Yura panted into his mouth while Naruto swirled his tongue around in her mouth. A pleasant feeling that tingled her tongue when he did that. However, the moment was ruined when Sasuke groaned. "We have got to go, Naruto," Sasuke announced, and Yura opened her eyes. The kiss ended and both backed away. "Be safe, Ni-sama," Yura said, and Naruto slowly nodded before holding out his hand, and the portal quickly appeared in their view. Kakashi, Sasuke, Yuna and Yugao passed through it, and Naruto noticed the waves of Risa, Taiyuya, Kamachi, Kushina, Guren, Yukimaru, Yuri, Yura, Karen, and Haku. Zabuza, Mikoto, Rin, Suigetsu, Jugo, and Itachi slowly bowed for whatever reason before Naruto disappeared entirely, having the portal close. "They're gone," Yukimaru said, and Kushina gave a small grin. "Yes, they are," she said, and it was like a flip to a light switch came on as Kushina spun around. "Hurry, they're only going to be gone for a week. We'll have to work fast," Kushina shouted, and everyone sped off. With Naruto, ship port, from out of the Jikuyugami, Naruto, Kakashi, Yuna, Sasuke, and Yugao came up to a large hill overlooking a port in full view of the ocean along with it. "So how long is the ride to the land of demons?" Naruto asked, and Yugao proceeded to take out a map, having left the scene she just experienced in the back of her head for the time being. "The ride should be about a day, maybe a day and a half. That should give us enough time to come up with an idea of what's going on. What do you say?" "Well, first we'll have to meet up with Team Yamato. Presuming that we're an hour late, then they might have gone ahead, but we should scout out the area just in case," Naruto said, but not to anyone's surprise there was a response. "There is no need for that, Heineken Butai. It seems we were rushing for nothing." The others turned around and they noticed the man named Yamato, Sakura, and Sai dropped to the ground. "Yamato? What are you doing out here? Shouldn't you be at the docks?" Yugao asked, and the Umbu in disguise, Yamato, merely smiled. "We could ask you the same thing, Yugao-san," Yamato said. The purple-haired Heineken member rolled her eyes. Meanwhile, Sasuke turned his head and he noticed Sakura staring at him. She seemed to be doing it like she was utterly disgusted with him. Sasuke was sure that this was a new reaction on Sakura's part, but he didn't really care either way. He then noticed her look down for but a second until she turned her head away. Sasuke looked down to his hand and he noticed it was very close to Yuna's own hand. The young Uchiha heir narrowed his eyes slightly before shaking his head. "So who is the leader for your group?" Yamato asked, and Naruto stepped forward. "That would be me this time. I would suggest that we hurry towards the docks. It looks like it's about to rain here. We'll have to set sail by this time," Naruto said, and Yamato agreed. "Hi, that would be appropriate. Sakura, Sai, get us a boat." "We're setting sail immediately," Yamato instructed. Sakura nodded, and so did Sai as the two walked off into the distance of the docks. So Heineken and Team Yamato quickly got their boat acquired and set sail into the deep sea. They sailed the entire day and into the night. The rain had quickly come pouring down over their boat, making it incapable of staying on the bow anymore. The bow, stern, port, and starboard of the ship were being manned by Naruto's clones, and Yamato would clones towards their destination. The winds weren't blowing hard, but it was still a struggle. However, none of them complained about it since they had a job to do. The teams had settled themselves in the main room near a table. The only thing giving them light was a nearby candle lamp for them to discuss their plan of action for the mission. This would most likely be the only time for it to happen, and anything else would have to be on the fly. So we can assume that since their shrine maiden needs our help, then we're obviously going to have to help her seal whatever this thing is that's tormenting them. We're going to be in some trouble, Sai spoke, and the others agreed. You're right. It's obvious that the geographical layout of the land is more to their advantage. If we're going to protect them, then we'll need to do some other things as well. Naruto, what do you think? Kakashi asked, and Sakura gave a small snort, but Naruto spoke regardless. I think we're going to need to do a little more than that, but that seems to be the only option available for us. We can place myself and Yugao-chan at the front, Kakashi-sensei and Yamato-sensei at the back, Sakura to the side, Yuna and Sasuke to the opposite side. Sai will be our eyes in the sky. Any movement that happens below that we can't see, then we'll need to rely on Sai for it, Naruto said, and everyone nodded, but Sakura huffed, and this time they caught it. You disagree with what I said, Sakura? Naruto asked, and Sakura stared up at him. Why am I alone? Why do I have to manage an entire section by myself? I'm a medic. I should be at the back, Sakura suggested, and Naruto looked back at the plan. The reason I have you to the side is because while you don't have as much chakra as Sasuke and I, you're still the make the best standard reactions, and that's what we're going to need. Sasuke and Yuna will be fine on their own, Naruto said, and Sakura chuckled dryly. Oh, I'm sure they'll be fine on their own. Just look at how professional they are right now, Sakura said, and everyone turned to see Sasuke, and Yuna just glanced to each other confusingly. What about it? Yugao asked, and Sakura snorted. Sasuke, the two of you are cousins for Kami's sake. Have you even thought about your future? Sakura asked, and Sasuke raised an eyebrow. I plan on restoring my clan. Is there a problem? Sasuke asked, and Sakura growled before turning towards Naruto. This is your fault, Naruto. I never knew you would do this. Don't you even realize what you're doing? Sakura asked, standing to her feet angrily. Everyone else stood to their feet ready to calm her down, but the young blonde was greatly confused. Sakura, what are you talking about? What's my fault? Naruto asked angrily. You don't even get it, do you? What you've done to poor Hinata, to Niji, to Hayashi-san, even to Temari and Kankuro. How long will you go on until you're satisfied? What you've done to Sasuke, Kakashi-sensei, Tsunade-sama, and even yourself. You might have them fooled, and you might have even fooled yourself, but I know the truth. I know what you did. Messing with people's feelings like you're doing. Councilwoman Koharu was right. You're no better than Orochimaru. Sakura declared. Slap. Sakura widened her eyes as her face was turned towards a wall. No one said anything as they noticed Yuna with her hand extended. The redness across Sakura's face was indeed evident, and she glared back in Yuna's direction. How dare you? How dare you compare Shikio-sama to that filth? Hayashi-san and Shikio-sama are best friends. You wouldn't even begin to understand their bond of trust with each other. He's done nothing to Sasuke. He has given Sasuke comfort. I am that comfort. Your feelings are not needed in this mission. If you can't take it, then you are better of returning home right now. You understand nothing. Yuna said, and Sakura snarled. Alright, that's enough. Both of you. Naruto called out, getting everyone's attention. Sakura, leave. Cool your head and come back whenever you're sensible. This is not the time for us to fight about whatever I did. You have an issue with me, then we'll discuss it after the mission. No earlier, understood? Naruto asked, and Sakura snorted. Oh, don't worry, Naruto. I'll bring it up to you, and I will be fully sensible in that time. Everyone will understand everything, and so will you. You will know just what you've done and the consequences of those actions. Hope you have a nice life with your family, Sasuke, Sakura said before walking off. Naruto gave a deep sigh and Yamato shook his head. Forgive her. Sakura tends to be hot-headed as of late. A trait that I'm sure she shares with her master, Tsunade Senju. I will go talk with her if we're done here. It's already night, we'll get our sleep and then we will take shifts to maintain the boat, Yamato said, and no one refuted him. They watched as Sai and Yamato disappeared through the halls of the ship, leaving them alone. Has she always been like that? Yugao asked, and Naruto shook his head. No, and that's the weird part of it all. She's never acted out like that at all. Not once did she call Sasuke, Sasuke-kun or whatever like that. And what did she mean when she said that I was just like Orochimaru? I'm not like Orochimaru, am I? Naruto asked. Kakashi quickly grabbed Naruto's shoulders and made the blonde face him. Naruto, get that notion out of your head right now. You are nothing like Orochimaru. You returned Rin to me. You gave Yuna and Mikoto to Sasuke. Never think that again, Kakashi said, and Naruto looked down at the ground. His eyes didn't belie the thoughts in his head at that moment, but Kakashi's words had indeed helped him out. It was those words that allowed Naruto to sleep through that night since their meeting had been adjourned. The next day, midday to be exact, the ship quickly docked to the land of demons and everyone disembarked from the boat. Sakura had finally rejoined them for their walk, but she had been dreadfully silent, but no one called her on it. For all they knew then, this was just her being in a normal mood, one that they chose to ignore. Naruto, once he stepped on the island, narrowed his eyes quickly. He felt like he was just blasted with a high amount of spiritual energy. Whatever priestess lived her, she was very strong in the spiritual arts. In a mix with the spiritual energy was a corrupt energy that seemed to saturate the very ground Naruto was walking on. It's like he was getting a good and evil battle all around them without any of the others realizing it. He could also tell the spirits in the area were warning him greatly about what he was getting into. Something about a priestess named Miroku and a demon named Morio. Naruto knew neither of these names and neither did Kyubi, which was odd for Naruto. The blonde was sure that Kyubi would know about other demons, but he just replied that he didn't care to learn about those demons weaker than Shikaku, which Naruto could probably understand. Naruto had been told by his mother that the Uzumaki always had special connections to the spirit world simply because of their use of Fuinjutsu. He didn't know why he was thinking this, but he'd have to put it away for now. The group didn't know how long they had been walking, but it was clearly obvious that the sun was in the sky by this time and it was hotter than all hell. Naruto wiped his forehead, as did Sasuke and Yuna. No one else seemed to complain about the heat, and they didn't have to as they came to the site of a large shrine compound in the distance. Is that it? Naruto asked, and Yamato nodded. Hi, but it seems like there is smoke. Are we too late? Yamato asked. Naruto sucked his teeth and touched the hilt of his sword. Let's hurry, Naruto said, and the two teams raced off through the woods and trees. Not even 10 minutes later did they all arrive to see multiple guards working to put out the fires that began to get doused with water. Sensing no danger, Naruto waved his hand for everyone to relax, and they did as ordered. It also didn't take long for their appearance to be noticed as a lone man came up to them. He had short shoulder-length brown hair and he wore red rectangular glasses. He also wore a simple Japanese attire along with a bow and arrow perched on his shoulders. Konoha, I presume, he asked, and Naruto could see the small hint of hesitation in his movements. He seemed to be ready to fight just on the off chance that he was wrong. Hoping to disarm the man and remain friendly, Naruto replied. Hi. We are sent here by Godame Hokage-sama. Whom am I addressing? Naruto asked, and the man slowly bowed. Hi, my name would be Toroho Konoha Shinobi. I ask that you forgive me if I assumed you were otherwise. As you can see, we have had a bit of a run-in with other sorts of people. Thank you for heeding our call. You couldn't have come at a better time. Please come inside, he said, and the others bowed before walking through the large gates of the compound. There was a lot to see as people kept running somewhere with buckets of water to put out fires and the like. What happened here? Yuna asked, and Tsuruho gave a long sigh. An attack. Ever since a few weeks ago we have been attacked by people whom we think are after our priestess. They seek to resurrect the ancient demon, Morio. The fools don't know what they are unleashing. We've been able to hold off their attacks thus far, but we're nearing the end of our rope. It's also the time for our priestess to seal the great demon once again. We're fearful that they will interfere and the results that we don't even want to think about them, Tsuruho said, and Sasuke snorted. Seems like you guys would need better seals then, Sasuke commented. Tsuruho didn't say anything, but the fact of the matter was that he found Sasuke to be right, but he didn't know how he was supposed to go around that. They just let it be as it had always been. Making a stop, Tsuruho turned to a guard and spoke. Get Cheyenne-sama. Tell her that the Konoha shinobi who will be protecting her have arrived, the brown-haired man said, and the guard saluted him before rushing off to go and inform the priestess, Cheyenne. You seem to be the authority figure here, Kakashi said, and Tsuruho quickly turned back. Well, I am Cheyenne-sama's assistant and head bodyguard. I suppose I would be seen as an authority figure, he said, and Naruto managed a narrow of the eyes, but nothing more. Tsuruho continued to guide the teams through the compound and quickly into the main building, temple, whatever. Everyone took off their shoes and sat on the mats in front of them. Naruto, do you feel the chakra around this place? Yugao asked quietly. Naruto inclined his head forward. I do. The chakra around here is staggering. Not to mention the seals placed around the room. This was definitely well placed for protection. Sasuke, what do you see? Naruto asked, and Sasuke's onyx-colored eyes quickly turned red as his eyes moved around through the room, examining it. The flow of chakra through here is rather irregular. I can also see that some of it is being drawn into the seal on your hand. You seem to be overflowing with more Honshu than before. I think it's a side effect of this chakra. Whatever it is, it was made for spiritual purposes, and I can't think of anything more spiritual-based than you at the moment, Sasuke said, and Naruto gave a slow nod. What does that mean? Are we in danger? Sakura asked, though she really didn't want to talk, but Yamato advised her to strongly consider her place and put the mission before her own feelings, for now. Not yet, but it just means that Naruto's going to have a hard time suppressing whatever force this is, since it seems naturally drawn to him. We'll just have to hope that it doesn't do anything we won't like, Kakashi said, and Sakura slowly nodded before they heard the door open. Each turned their heads as they noticed a teenage girl come into the room. She was a little pale-skinned, but no one mistook the light blonde hair that she had that went down to her waist. It wasn't as blonde as Naruto's, but then again they doubted that anyone was going to be that blonde. It was more like a lighter blonde in comparison to Ino's hair Naruto and the others had surmised. She had lavender eyes, and the girl wore a lavender kimono with her hair kept tied back with a golden crown. The kimono obviously looked too long for her, but no one commented on it. Naruto, however, noticed something else. He took notice of the lifelessness of her eyes. Eyes that showed a lasting disdain for how she was treated. In fact, Naruto remembered having those eyes nearly all of his early life. Eyes that dreaded the very nature of her life and wished for nothing more than for someone to end it all. Naruto recognized that look all too well. Cheyenne had a headache. Not only had she been subjected to the stupid things that happened when her compound got attacked, but she also had to greet these people who were supposedly here to protect her while she sealed up the demon again. What was the point to all of this? Sometimes Cheyenne wondered if she should even continue with the job that she was in. What did it matter? These people were probably going to die anyway, just like all the others, in a small effort to prolong her life. What was the point to it? Sitting down, Cheyenne didn't make eye contact at first, trying to let herself get a feel for the environment. It was tense. Not to mention she felt uneasy from the high volume of spiritual power in the room. This had never happened before, but Cheyenne did her best to ignore it all the while performing her job. "Cheyenne-sama, the guests," Teruho said to her standing at the side, and Cheyenne gave a rather long sigh of her lips before slowly nodding. "Welcome Konoha Shinobi, to the land of demons shrine compound. I am the priestess Sure," Cheyenne said rather monotonously before looking up at the group. She widened her eyes slightly at the sight of Naruto. Cheyenne finished, and she felt a shiver go through her spine. Now she understood. It was now she understood that the person she was looking at was in charge of all this spiritual power in the room. Cheyenne's eyes locked with Naruto's, and the two seemed to be having a duel with each other as the light blonde-haired teen continued to breathe hard. "The one from my dreams. He's in front of me right now. The one who gives his life for me, but doesn't die. This aura, this presence that I can't help it. I can't speak, I can't think. What's going to happen to me?" Cheyenne thought to herself before she opened her mouth. She would have to have a test for the person in front of her. "Why you, the one with blonde hair? You will be dead by 5 days, Cheyenne said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes again. Kakashi widened his visible one, as did Sasuke, Yuna and Yugao. All eyes were on Naruto, making the blonde tightly ball his fist. A hasty prediction that was. "She knows something, brat." "I don't know, but she's weary of you," Kyubi said, and Naruto balled his fists. "Does she know about Shin even though I never said anything about it? She's a priestess, so maybe she's feeling the power I exude naturally. I'll have to watch out for her then," Naruto thought to himself. "Is that right? Well, there is nothing I can do about it. Everything dies at some point," Naruto responded, and that wasn't the reaction Cheyenne was expecting. Mostly when she made those predictions, people just wallowed in their self-pity about it or the fear of wondering when it was going to come. Cheyenne never expected acceptance. "Besides I just love proving people wrong, Databeo," Naruto said, and Cheyenne's eyebrow gave an unnoticeable twitch, but nothing more. She had heard such things before. It didn't matter to her actually. She knew the truth. "I see. Allow me to get ready then. Please make yourselves comfortable," Cheyenne said with a bow, and then just as easily left the room. Naruto watched her leave before standing to his feet. "What did you do now, Naruto? Haven't you done enough?" Sakura asked, but the others ignored her. "Alright, we're going to have to bring everyone together. We'll get settled, rest for a bit, and then we'll go on about our business," Naruto said, and Sai kept his fake smile while speaking. "You're not afraid of dying?" Sai asked, and Naruto snorted. "I don't go based off predictions." "Sorry if I've never believed them either," Naruto said before he felt a tap on his shoulder showing Teruho. "You would do well to not believe that, Uzumaki Naruto. Lady Cheyenne's predictions are extremely accurate. She has never been wrong once when it's come to future telling. All of her predictions are 100% true," he said, and everyone widened their eyes. Naruto snorted before accepting the comment, but not doing anything about it as he dismissed his teammates. Quickly being taken to his room and unpacking his stuff, Naruto decided to venture out of the main building to walk around the compound. He could see that by the time he had come out, the people had already finished with their jobs in the fire disasters. There was not a single fire that was there when Naruto had arrived. As Naruto walked through the compound, he heard murmuring and turned his head to see Cheyenne walking through. Naruto was expecting some kind of acknowledgement to her from her people, but he was surprised to see them only bow. It was a very strained bow, and Naruto could see the hesitance in people's eyes. These people were scared of her. Was it because of her predictions? No, people wouldn't ostracize her just because of that, would they? But then again, that same thing happened to Naruto. He just noticed her walk off without paying a glance to them, and Naruto noticed the people had given sighs of relief. That irked Naruto for some reason. He didn't know why, but he couldn't let that stand. Walking forward, Naruto passed the people before patting Cheyenne's shoulder, much to the surprise of everyone who had seen him do it. Cheyenne turned around and noticed the man she just gave her prediction to and noticed Naruto speak. "Come with me," Naruto said, and Cheyenne didn't even get the chance to ask or say no before she noticed Naruto heading out of the compound. "Toroho-san, I'm borrowing the priestess," Naruto shouted. Cheyenne blinked quickly while Toroho pushed up his glasses. "Uzumaki-san, the priestess is not allowed out of the compound. Her life is already in danger." "I'm sorry, but I cannot allow that," Toroho said before he noticed Naruto wave him off. "Don't worry. I'll keep her safe. I will take any and all responsibility. After all, I am the leader on this mission," Naruto said, walking off with a grin. "Uzumaki-san," Toroho shouted, but he slightly widened his eyes once he noticed Cheyenne beginning to follow Naruto. "This will not take long, Toroho," Cheyenne said, following after Naruto until the two disappeared into the trees. This left everyone in silence while some of the guards glanced to each other. "What's with that guy? Does he want to die or something?" one of them asked while Toroho pinched the bridge of his nose. He just hoped that Naruto would be able to back up his boast and keep Cheyenne safe. It was all he could pray for anyway. With Naruto and Cheyenne, the young blondes walked through the road, leaving the compound behind. As the two walked through the dirt road surrounded by trees, it was then that Naruto wondered if the person with him had two personalities. It wasn't even 5 minutes until Cheyenne had spoken. "Where are you taking me?" she asked. "Don't worry about it," Naruto easily responded back. Cheyenne's eyebrow twitched before forcing herself to stay calm. "If you've come out here to waste my time, then it's not needed. I wish to." "Hurry this up," Cheyenne said, and Naruto snorted. "Really? Because from where I was standing you were just walking around with that stubborn look on your face. You need to lighten up," Naruto said, getting Cheyenne's hands to slightly dig into her dress. "Unlike you, I have very important business that I do back at the compound," Cheyenne said, and Naruto snorted. "So I guess my protecting you isn't important business?" Naruto asked, and Cheyenne stalled. She nearly fell out of step with the person in front of her, but managed to keep it, though she knew that he noticed it. "There's not really a point to you protecting me. All those who protect me die, so there's not issue. It's the same way that you will die as well. You should be scared," Cheyenne said, and Naruto looked up at the sky. "Not really. I won't die," Naruto responded, and Cheyenne frowned. "I thought you said that everything dies at some point. That would include you, wouldn't it?" she asked, and Naruto decided to turn her question around. "It would include you too, wouldn't it?" Naruto asked back. Cheyenne's face scrunched up in irritation before turning her head away. "Looks, we've walked and my feet hurt right now. I'm also hungry and thirsty, so please take me back to the compound so I can eat," Cheyenne said, and Naruto frowned. There are kids and adults who go days without food and without water. Having to travel days on end just to make one trip worthwhile. "You're not the only one who has needs," Naruto said, and Cheyenne widened her eyes. She turned her head away, and it was only now did she see that Naruto stopped. Cheyenne looked out and noticed the sun over the hills shining over the vast valley in front of her. She then looked down and noticed Naruto lay on the ground. "Feels good to get away from it all just for a little while, doesn't it?" Naruto inquired. The light blonde priestess didn't know what to say, so she settled for nothing, just looking out into the distance. She couldn't understand this person's thought process. He was rude, pushy, and all around. Cheyenne just didn't like him. She didn't even know if she had a reason for it, but maybe that had to do with her dreams. However, despite that, she could say that she was inwardly grateful to be away from the people. She wouldn't dare say that out loud, but this was actually a break that she needed. "Not going to sit down?" Naruto asked, and Cheyenne looked down before placing herself a few inches from Naruto. She elegantly sat on the ground, just feeling content to have the wind blow across her hair. Neither spoke with each other for about 10 minutes, but once those minutes passed, Naruto opened his mouth. "If you had 5 minutes to do what you wanted, what would you do?" Naruto asked suddenly. Cheyenne pondered his words before snorting. "I would finish my work that no doubt you're keeping me from doing." "Why exactly have you brought me out here?" Cheyenne asked, and Naruto leaned forward. "Are you always this suspicious of people?" Naruto asked, and Cheyenne's next response was one that even Naruto wouldn't see coming. "Are you?" she asked. Naruto frowned at what she possibly meant. Naruto decided not to respond to her, instead choosing to change the subject. "Tell me about the Morio," Naruto said, and Cheyenne visibly stiffened. "He's a demon." "There isn't much to say about him," Cheyenne said before standing to her feet. "Not that the time with hasn't been pleasant, but we should return now. I don't see the need to stay out here. Also, the sun is going down. You will have to meet with your time to do whatever it is that you do," Cheyenne said, and Naruto stood to his feet along with her. "Fine, but after the mission I will ask you what you want to do for 5 minutes. I'll get an answer out of you in that time. Also, yes, everything dies at some point." Naruto and Cheyenne's eyes hardened. "But, that just means that we have to live our lives without regret down to the last second." "Dadabayo," Naruto said, and Cheyenne turned back to him and noticed Naruto's bright smile. Cheyenne took a short sigh before nodding. "Whatever you say," Cheyenne returned as she and Naruto walked back towards the compound. They didn't say anything during that time, just walking back, but Naruto could feel the uncertainty around Cheyenne's heart. He didn't know why he could, but it was just that open to him. Later, that night, after everyone had finished their food, had convened in a lone room for one final discussion. "I checked the outer perimeter. There were no signs of the enemy. This means that they're waiting for us to leave to attack. I think it would be needed for us to switch our plans a little," Yugao said, having Naruto bring a finger to his chin. "What do you suggest?" Naruto asked, and Yugao pointed to a spot on the map. "I asked the guards about the routine checks, and they change every 5 hours or so. I've noticed the training that the guards partake in, and I'm sad to say that against Shinobi they won't protect her for very long, which is one of the reasons why they called us. The area around here is generally weak, and it leaves a blind side open to attack. I've warned Toroho-san about it, and he's taken precautions, but I'm afraid that isn't enough," the purple-haired woman said, and Naruto sighed. "I think it would be best if Yugao-san and I stayed back to protect the compound. I think that if we're gone, then there is a chance that they will strike while we're gone." "This should just be for precaution," Yamato said, and the others agreed. "Very well. Sasuke and I will at the front. Kakashi-sensei will be at the back, Yuna and Sakura will be to the sides. Sai will be in the air to warn us. That should work out." "So when should we leave?" Naruto asked. "We'll leave tomorrow." Naruto and the others turned their heads, and they noticed Cheyenne staring at them from the door. For someone who doesn't know the art of war, you sure are trying to give orders fast," Yuna said, but Cheyenne ignored it. "I want to get this done as fast as possible. The faster it's finished, then the faster that these people will give up and leave." "Good night," Cheyenne said, leaving them alone in the room. Everyone turned to each other and quickly sighed. "I really don't like her," Yuna said, more to herself than the others, but everyone heard her regardless. "Well, it doesn't matter. We're her protection. If she wants to leave tomorrow, then we'll leave tomorrow. Just remember to be on your guard," Naruto said, and the others quickly agreed before walking off to go to sleep. As they all walked off, Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi, Yamato, and Yugao had sensed who had been in the other room listening to them. It was impossible not to before the figure vanished. That night, Naruto tossed and turned in his sleep. Over and over he did this as the sweat slowly dripped from his face. The sounds of loud roaring plagued his ears. In his dreams, Naruto looked up as a beast roared in front of him. It had numerous heads, but they all thought in unison. Around its neck was a single chain. A pure white chain that trailed from its neck down to Naruto's hand resting in his seal. It glared at the blonde before lightly bowing to him while Naruto rubbed its head. "My first Shinju," Naruto said in his dream before he gasped and opened his eyes. Naruto panted heavily as he placed a hand to his face. He was sweating. Naruto took a deep breath before leaning back into his pillow. What was that? Naruto asked himself. Slowly Naruto closed his eyes once again and drifted off to sleep. Amigakure, Pain narrowed his eyes dangerously as he looked over Amigakure. Right behind him was Tobi and Kisame watching him cautiously. "She's late," Pain said rather impassively, but the danger in his voice was evident. "I never figured that there would be a time where Konan-san would be late for anything." "The Sanbai Jinchuriki must have been more than she bargained for," Kisame said with somewhat of a chuckle that only he could produce. "Kisame, now is not the time to antagonize Pain. Also, I doubt that Konan would lose in a battle with a 15-year-old girl. Jinchuriki or not, Konan should have easily been able to finish her off and bring her back here," Tobi said, and Pain frowned. "Maybe she betrayed us," Kisame said, and the shark man instantly found a metal rod in the side of the wall inches from his face. "Which is highly unlikely, Leader-sama," Kisame quickly finished while Pain turned around. "Where is Zetsu?" Pain asked, and Kisame decided to speak again. "He's out there looking for Konan-san, as were your orders," Kisame said, and Pain looked down in front of him. The rising feeling of anxiety didn't fail to make him worry about his only living friend. If he found out that she had been captured, then by all means hell would break loose and Pain would devastate the land entirely in a search for her. Then he would make those who pained her feel that pain themselves. He would show them that he was not to be trifled with. There is still the chance that she was captured, but she would have notified us by now. If she hasn't, then we can guess that she can't use her chakra. The only question is where they would hide her. Konoha would be in a buzz if they had one of the Akatsuki captured. Not to mention, if she told the people, then all 5 nations would be at your doorstep, Nagato, ready to kill you without a second thought. It matters not. I will go after the Rokubi Jinchuriki. Once he has been dealt with, if Konan is not back during this time, then I will go out and look for her myself. No matter how many of these people there are, none of them are a match for God." Pain spoke, then walked off, leaving Kisame and Tobi to glance to each other. "You know where she is, don't you?" Kisame asked, and Tobi narrowed his visible eye. "Let her stay there as long as she wants. I see no problem with it. Actually, this serves a better purpose. She was too close to thinking about the consequences of our actions. Having her away from Nagato will serve to influence him a little better," Tobi said with a small grin while Kisame snickered. "Ah, scary. I'd really rather not fight against you," Kisame spoke, walking off, getting a snort from Tobi. "However, Uchiha Mikoto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Uchiha Yuna. All 3 are bound to try to stop me. No doubt Mikoto has told Yuna about her brother, Uchiha Shisui. I will have to dispose of Danzo soon. If Yuna gains her brother's eyes, then I'll have to take even more drastic measures than I thought. Seems that Uchiha Fugaku still couldn't do anything right despite what I told him. To actually leave the sister of Uchiha Shisui alive, pitiful," Tobi said before warping away into nothingness. Next morning, Naruto groaned while Sasuke offered a deadpan expression, Kakashi shook his head, Yugao sighed deeply, and Sakura followed up with a groan as well. "I told you for the last time that I'm not walking," Cheyenne said, and Naruto frowned. "And, Kami forbid, why won't you walk?" Naruto asked, and Cheyenne huffed. "Because I'm tired. It's early in the morning." "Have Teruho bring my carriage," Cheyenne said, and Naruto chuckled darkly. "Now Naruto, this is a client. Don't be too rash here," Kakashi thought to himself as Naruto advanced for the young woman in front of him. Naruto glared down at Cheyenne and the young priestess looked up. She couldn't help but give a slight shiver to the intensifying glare that Naruto gave, but it then settled down. A carriage is going to cause too much attention to you. I'm not going to risk your safety just because you don't feel like walking. Keep in mind that as we waste time here your enemies are coming up with even more ways to kill you. Also if you fail to seal this demon then I'll write in the report that you didn't want to go because you were too lazy. Not our problem then, but that's not how I work. So, sorry, but we're going to have to improvise here, Naruto said. Cheyenne raised an eyebrow as did everyone else. Konoha, Hokage Mansion Tsunade continued to work through her paperwork with a small sigh as she placed one file into the completed column. Actually, Tsunade had been doing some papers between herself and A. The two Kage had been sending papers to each other repeatedly through the use of Uzumaki. Sorry for making you run around like this. I know it can be stressing, Tsunade said, but Sure shook his head. It is not a problem Hokage-sama. If this improved relations with our villages then I don't see any mind. Fujike-san has been great company. I've also learned some techniques from him that I'm sure will benefit me and my clan in the future, Sure said and Tsunade chuckled. You plan on starting the clan within Kumo? Tsunade asked and Sure sighed. I honestly don't know. Kumo has indeed been my life, but my clan is something else. I still haven't come to a decision about it, Sure said to her and Tsunade could accept that. The young blonde man had no complaints about his job as the bridge between the two Kage, though he did miss his family since he was sure that not having a family and then suddenly being surrounded by other Uzumaki had made him somewhat lonely now even with Fujikes. He doubted Konoha would allow a noble clan to leave easily. On the other hand, he was sure his friends in Kumo would try to keep him as well. The only thing that Sure knew was that despite his choices, his family and his raikage would support him in it. Well, time grants one understanding if they ask themselves long enough, Tsunade said and Sure slowly nodded. Speaking of which, Kushina-sama told me that you're an Uzumaki as well. Where is your swirl symbol? Sure asked and Tsunade looked at him pleasantly. A little too pleasantly which made Sure take a step back. It's in a place that if I show you then I will instantly kill you after I see it. Sure, I'll start a war for it, but that's how it goes, Tsunade said and Sure slowly nodded chuckling dryly. How do these people deal with this woman? Sure thought to himself before he noticed Tsunade relax. Well, it's not like I don't understand. A part of me would like to join that clan too, but I'm a Senju through and through. I doubt I can be an Uzumaki like you can, Tsunade said and Sure blinked at her rather dismissive tone, but before he could expound on it the door instantly opened causing Tsunade and Sure to look at whoever had the audacity to come in without so much as a knock at the reasons were easily explainable. You're lucky I don't have you arrested, Koharu, Hamura. What do you want now? Tsunade asked, but to her surprise Hamura was the one who spoke this time. Koharu merely attempted to fade into the background. Tsunade, this has gone on long enough. Explain to us why you have allowed the entire Uzumaki clan to leave Konoha. This is a direct suspicion to activity already. I'd rather we didn't have another Uchiha incident on our hands. Guren Uzumaki hasn't reported to the barrier division. Kushina Uzumaki is not there for the clan meetings. I understand that they are a clan and they have their original home, but you are giving them too much freedom. Freedom to plot against us just like the Uchiha clan did, Hamura said and Tsunade gave a small sigh. Calm yourself, Councilman Hamura. I allowed them all to return to their island for their yearly tradition which had been broken until we officially made them a clan once again, Tsunade said and Hamura blinked, but Sure was the one who spoke. We have an island? Sure asked and Tsunade nodded. The land of Uzushiogakure is native to the Uzumaki clan and now is the time for their Fuinjutsu Ascension exams. I was told about it by Kushina and I agree. Stronger Fuinjutsu users for the village are needed. There is a reason why I named Guren as the head of the barrier division, Tsunade said. Sure was in little shock over this as Hamura spoke again. Need I remind you that this woman was also an officer to Orochimaru? Hamura asked and Tsunade leaned forward. Need I remind you that Uchiha Sasuke was the same? Now by unknown means we have not only the matriarch of the Uchiha clan back, but also the elder sister of Uchiha Shisui. The latter of which happens to be interested in reviving the clan with Uchiha Sasuke. Isn't that what you would like? Tsunade asked. Koharu brought a hidden smile when Tsunade brought that up, but stayed her tongue. Now wasn't the time to act. Koharu had to pick her moment. She knew Tsunade was too soft on the Uzumaki clan. Tsunade wouldn't be able to do what was needed, but Koharu could do it. She could do it without a second thought. The Uchiha clan is something the village needs as is the Uzumaki clan, but giving both the reign to do as they like is pushing it. Also we have yet to see a child from either Uchiha Sasuke or Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Kushina and Uchiha Mikoto have adamantly made it clear that they aren't having children and thus refuse to see the suitors that we prefer. Uzumaki Kushina more than Uchiha Mikoto for odd reasons that we cannot pinpoint, but we've suggested that to be because of her late husband, Minato Namikaze, as well as Uzumaki Naruto's heir status. Tell Uzumaki Naruto that he must find a suitor or suitors before we match him up with who we think to be correct, Hamura said and Tsunade chuckled. You really think the brat would listen to you? Tsunade asked and Hamura gave a grin of his own. Uzumaki clan heir or not, he's still a shinobi of Konoha and therefore will be listening to us, Hamura said and Sure snorted. The three pairs of eyes turned to him as Sure shook his head. One thing I've learned about us Uzumaki. We don't take orders very well, Sure said smirking while Tsunade gave a smirk of her own. You would do well to stay out of the conversation Sure Uzumaki. Uzumaki or not, you're still in a different village and have no say whatsoever in the dealings with the Uzumaki clan as a whole, which is why we insist that you choose your place as well, Hamura spoke. Sure narrowed his eyes to that intended threat before Tsunade stood to her feet. First of all Hamura, remember whom you're addressing. Naruto answers to me and me alone. If I find things wrong with the way he does things then I will be the one to bring them forward and have him correct them. Now I'll concede to the point that having them out of the village isn't a good thing and I'll agree to have them back in, but you do anything out of your place in the structure of this village then I'll be more than happy to show you how fearsome I am. Is that clear? Tsunade asked and Hamura frowned. Koharu did the same though since she was behind Hamura it was hidden. Understood Hokage-sama. Let us go Koharu. No more need be said here, Hamura said and Koharu agreed as she walked away and closed the door. Hokage-sama, Sure said getting Tsunade to turn to him. I can't understand it or explain it clearly, but I felt ill intent from both of them as well as negative emotions. Especially from Koharu-san. I'd advise that you be wary of them both since I don't have the evidence nor the trust that they do, Sure said and Tsunade turned forward. Could it be that he's found his unique chakra just like the others have? That was a skill that only Mitoba-chan knew, Tsunade thought to herself before slowly nodding. I'll take your concern into account. Now then, hand me the rest of the stack, Tsunade said and Sure quickly nodded. Hi, the next document has to do with the meeting of Raikage-sama, Hokage-sama, and Mizukage-sama, Sure said. Tsunade gave a long sigh and nodded rubbing her temples. She hated her life at the moment. Outside, Koharu looked left and then right before quickly disappearing into an alleyway. She only had to walk a few feet to see the person in front of her. How is the plan? The person asked and Koharu gave a chuckle. It comes along well. I will always have Konoha's best interests at heart and I think this serves us well. The Uzumaki clan and the Hyuga clan are clan allies. The Uzumaki clan and the Uchiha clan are forming bonds. Soon these three noble clans will be the prime example of power held within Konoha's walls. All that must be done is to subjugate the Uzumaki clan just like the Hyuga clan itself. The Uchiha clan is hardly a concern with 3 members. We'll deal with them in due time. Sakura will be a major component in it all. I can always rely on her, Koharu said while the cloaked person gave a small nod of their head. To the benefit of Konoha, he said while Koharu gave another smile. To the benefit of Konoha as the leading nation in the world, she said before the person vanished. Koharu merely kept the smile on her face before she walked off into the streets like it never happened. Land of demons, how did it come to this? I am a priestess for Kami's sake. This is also too embarrassing. Why is your back so hard? Cheyenne shouted while Sakura continued to glare daggers at Naruto's back for forcing her to carry the priestess via piggyback. You don't want to walk, then you can settle for being embarrassed for all I care. When you find your pride dwindling, then I'm sure Sakura will be happy to let you down, Naruto said walking forward next to Sasuke in the front, Kakashi to the back and Yuna watching the sides with Sai watching the air. Oh sure, this is what the purpose of my strength was used for. Good to know that those 2 years I spent doing hellish training were all for the sake of this, Sakura mumbled to herself. The pink-haired medic Nin easily sighed before sucking up her misery and continuing with her job. Cheyenne just growled towards the young male in front of her before deciding to be quiet. She just sighed to herself before resigning herself to the situation she was in. Who did this blonde guy think he was? Just coming into her life and messing it up like this. Cheyenne had never felt so angry before in her life, and yet this was pleasant somewhere. The last time she had to raise her voice at someone had been it quite a while. It was a good stress reliever. Well, it was until that insufferable Yuna woman opened her mouth. Shikio-sama, I can see 4 chakra signatures closing in. One of them is coming fast. Very fast, too fast. Look out! Yuna shouted instantly. Naruto and the others barely had the time to react before they heard an explosion. Each looked up as they noticed Sai had been shot out of the sky via fire jutsu. The pale young man quickly backflipped through the air and landed down, but no one could rest as the wind suddenly picked up violently. Naruto covered his face before turning around. Kakashi-sensei, Yuna, Sakura guard Cheyenne. Sasuke, Sai get ready. Naruto called out. It wasn't even a second before that the blonde found himself blocked a heavy punch with his sword. His eyes caught the glimpse of a devious smirk. The weight of this person's punch was monstrous to say the least. He's using futon chakra to power his movements. Naruto thought before he was sent flying into the air, but with little damage since he deflected the shot. Sasuke quickly acted and ran towards the intruder. Appearing in less than a second, Sasuke hovered his sword for the man's neckline and slammed it down only to narrow his eyes as he collided with a kunai from another person. He turned his head and noticed the appearance of a woman, or what he assumed to be a woman, before jumping back. Sasuke landed next to Naruto while Sai landed behind them. Well, priestess, looks like you're about to actually make us work for a change, but regardless of how many worms you send our way, we'll just knock them all down, the man said. Cheyenne widened her eyes slightly while said man opened his palm and then clenched it tightly. Your death will be the resurrection of Morio-sama. Prepare to die. He shouted maniacally while the woman next to him chuckled darkly. Well, they did until they took notice of Naruto's sword blocking them. Sorry, but you're not attacking this one again. In fact, I'll make sure that you don't attack anyone else. Oh, don't worry. I promise that once I give you to Shin, then you won't have to worry about me anymore. You'll suffer in eternal torment in the stomach of the Shinigami when I'm done with you, Dadabayo. Naruto called out. Those who get in the way of our dream to resurrect Morio-sama will be dealt with severely. Prepare to die, kid, the man shouted as he charged him. Naruto quickly assumed a stance along with Sasuke and Sai at his back. Let's see, still no use of summons. Oh, this was going to be fun. Yeah, not Naruto cursed under his breath as he backflipped through the air from the assailant's punch. His sword went flailing through the air wildly. Snarling, the blonde lunged for it and grabbed it before landing down on the dirt with a small skid. Sasuke and Sai landed next to him while Sakura, carrying Cheyenne, Kakashi and Yuna jumped into the trees. The hell was that? Naruto asked while Sasuke's eyes quickly turned red, spinning wildly, from trying to analyze what was in front of him. It would appear that it's the enemy Naruto-san, Sai said, getting a grumble from the blonde while Naruto quickly got to his feet. Thanks for stating the obvious, Sai. I'm asking what's with him right now. Naruto said in irritation and Sai shrugged his shoulders. Keh, you're not bad, kid. You actually managed to not only block my punch, but also keep your little butter knife from cracking. That must take some skill. The assailant answered. With a burst of wind and swing of his sword, Naruto made the dust surrounding the man's form blow away to reveal the form of Jitai as he held a giant grin on his face. He licked the corner of his lips while Naruto, quickly taking command, turned around. Sakura, Kakashi, Yuna, get Cheyenne out of here. Naruto called out and Sakura snapped out of her stupor. And leave you here? Sakura asked. Granted, yes, she still felt that hostility towards the blonde in front of her for what he was doing, known to him or otherwise. He was still a member of her former team and Sakura cared about all of her teammates. You really think I'm gonna let you leave? Priestess-chan is going to be bloodstains on my hands when I'm done with her, Jitai said, slowly cackling while Cheyenne tightened her arms around Sakura's form a little harder. Don't count on it. You're hardly the threat you claim to be if you're all we have to work with. You'll be dealt with quickly, Sasuke said, gesturing to Naruto. The blonde gave a small grin before he held out his hand. Cookin'. Naruto suddenly shouted, shocking everyone as he dropped to his knees and grabbed the ends of his head, writhing in agony. Kyubi was feeling the same pain as his tails thrashed around violently. Jitai raised an eyebrow at what caused such a reaction from the blonde man in front of him, but it didn't matter. In the end, he was going to die anyway. Naruto, are you alright? Kakashi asked while Naruto panted heavily, the pain subsiding. Just get Cheyenne out of here, Naruto said, growling in anger while Sasuke quickly got in a position to protect Naruto, an action which surprised the blonde if only a little. No, we have to get you out of here too. Yuna called out. Remember the plan and don't argue. We can handle this. It was Sasuke's voice that came suddenly, making Yuna wince. Sasuke, Yuna said more to herself while Sasuke's sword flared in lightning. Naruto stood to his feet and then gripped his sword. He gave an experimental jerk of his sword and he watched it glow in the white fire of Honshu. Okay, so just using Honshu in its pure form doesn't do what happened last time. I can at least use it, but not so concentrated, Naruto thought to himself. He slowly nodded and sighed. Great, so other than a few others, his generally most powerful techniques were out, all three of them. Naruto-san, I think it might be wise for you to go with them also. Here you might be a hindrance, Sai said as he learned in a book that friends appreciated honesty making relations go a lot smoother. Naruto grimaced and Sasuke sighed to himself. Shut up, Sai, Naruto retorted and Sai nodded. Meanwhile, Sakura huffed and turned around. You'd better not die, Naruto. I still have to knock some sense into your ass, Sakura said and dashed away before Kakashi and Yuna could say anything. Where do you think you're going? Jitai hollered, suddenly finding the speed to pass Naruto, Sasuke and Sai as he dashed for Sakura's body. He grinned widely as his hand neared her pink shirt until he barely had the time to the sandals of a person as their foot slammed into his face, knocking him to the ground in a heavy crash. Naruto smirked while Sai couldn't help but grin in turn. Your speed has improved, Sasuke, Naruto said while Sasuke landed on a branch and snorted. Don't act like you're faster than me, loser, Sasuke said with a small smirk while Naruto chuckled. Seeing the sight, Kakashi sighed and shook his head. Honestly, these two were going to be the death of him one day. You two better come back, got it? Kakashi asked, and getting Naruto and Sasuke to turn to him. Who do you think we are, Kakashi? They both asked at the same time, forcing Kakashi to give an eye smile. Come Yuna, we're leaving, Kakashi said, and before she could give her reply, Yuna suddenly found herself being dragged along through the trees running after Sakura, who was carrying the client. In little to no time at all, the three disappeared into nothingness, leaving Naruto, Sasuke and Sai to deal with what was in front of them. Kid, that was a mistake that you won't live to regret, Jitai said, removing himself from the earth before glaring up at the young Uchiha heir while Sasuke rested his sword on his shoulder. Instead of running your mouth, why don't you show us what you're really made of? Sasuke asked, and Jitai snarled in with an intense glare that became a dark chuckle. He slapped his hands together for a single hand sign. Very well. Don't regret it. Katan, Hibashiri, Jitai shouted, and the three quickly jumped away from the rushing fire that spewed from his mouth. The fire bashed into the trees, setting them ablaze, while Sasuke swiftly left them and jumped to the ground. His sleeves rolled out 5 shuriken and he flung them perfectly at the target. Jitai effortlessly dodged them all before he widened his eyes in surprise as Naruto found his way around him. The blonde just had to touch him with his sword and that would be the end of him. You let your guard down, Naruto said while Jitai smirked. You think so? He asked, and Naruto watched him duck underneath the blonde's swinging white fire-encased sword. Naruto sucked his teeth before Jitai swung his legs and pushed them forward in a 2-foot attack for Naruto's abdomen. Naruto lifted his right leg and blocked the dual assault. However, he was surprised when Sai jumped over his back and sent a heel kick for Jitai's face. The white-haired man, seeing the coming action, rolled out of the way on the ground while Sai's foot slammed into the dirt, making it crack slightly. Jitai gave a small grin before he heard cackling. He turned and noticed Sasuke's sword tearing across the earth. They all walked out in a straight line as his scarf flew back and forth. Chidori, Raime, Thousand Birds, Thunderclap, Sasuke cried, and he gripped his sword with both hands. He brought his sword up and just as easily slashed it down, only for it to be blocked by a kunai. Sasuke snarled while Jitai grinned. Doton, Doriyuso, Jitai called out, and Sasuke continued to snarl before he backflipped through the air just in time for earth spikes to launch themselves from the ground at his frame. Cleverly, Sasuke maneuvered through them all and even managed to hop across one or two, sending him further into the air. Jitai grinned, but was forced to take his eyes off Sasuke's form and bring them down as he noticed Naruto and Sai coming at him from different sides. You're all underestimating me, Jitai shouted. Sai lunged at him with a kunai, but he sidestepped the pale teen before kicking him square in the stomach. Sai coughed before being rushed into the shrubbery behind him while Naruto brought his sword back. Yuzu no Fukushu, Goka, Whirlpool Revenge, Hellfire, Naruto said. The seals on his sword flared dangerously before disappearing, and suddenly Naruto's sword was encased in a majestic flame as he swung at Jitai, but Jitai only chuckled when he leaned his body back, letting Naruto swing forward. Believing that he held the advantage, Jitai smirked as he grabbed Naruto's leg. Got you, brat, he said as he lifted Naruto into the air. Actually, I've got you, Naruto said, and before Jitai could ask what the blonde meant, he was suddenly found restrained by white chains. The man widened his eyes while Naruto shouted, Sasuke now. Jitai quickly turned his head and he noticed Sasuke's sword blazing towards him in a crazy frenzy of lightning from the air. Sasuke swung his sword downward, fully prepared to cut the man down before he moved. Growling, Sasuke's sword slammed into the ground, causing it to crack from the pressure, thus making it explode upon impact. The dust settled and everyone noticed that the only remnant of the man was a log. Shit, Sai, move! Sasuke shouted, following the path of chakra back to its point of origin. He watched as Jitai made his way over Sai, and the young shinobi could do very little before he was backhanded across the face. Skipping across the ground like a stone, Sai's momentum was stopped by Naruto while the blonde held him up. You know, I'm not in any real hurry here. I'll admit that those chains of yours are scary. I could feel them sapping my chakra like a tree with water, but I wouldn't get cocky, brats. After all, you didn't think that I would really stay here and not send someone else, did you? Jitai asked, and the others gasped. What? Naruto snarled out while Jitai grinned. If you want to know what I'm talking about, then why don't you make me talk? Jitai suggested, and Sasuke was more than willing to follow through with that suggestion. Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu, Sasuke shouted at the top of his lungs, blowing a blazing flame in the direction of Jitai's form. Everyone watched the going flames as they raced for the enemy's form. Jitai watched them come for him, but the smirk on his face didn't drop. The reason for that was quite simple. He had heard a second voice, and a smaller person stood in front of him. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu, came the sounds of a feminine voice, and out of nowhere a large spring of water flew into the air before shaping itself into the structure of a dragon as the waters slammed themselves into the flames, quickly creating steam and bringing a thick mist over the field. Sasuke, Naruto, and Sai stood together looking around, Sasuke's eyes trying to look anywhere and everywhere to find their targets. Naruto, are you feeling better to try it? Sasuke asked, and Naruto clenched his hands. No. Whatever's happening then, it's something internal and not external with me. Sorry Sasuke, but in terms of those techniques then I'm out, Naruto replied, and Sasuke sighed. TSK, we've got to get back to the others, Sasuke said, and Naruto snarled. I know that, damn it, Naruto retorted, and before the blonde could even blink he was suddenly kicked in the stomach. Naruto grunted, but managed a rebound, landing on his feet. You guys are really something else. Is this the best that Konoha Shinobi can do? An Uzumaki air and an Uchiha air, came a mocking sound. Naruto and Sasuke didn't respond to the threat, but it did irk them somewhat. Between a problem with Naruto's power source and their new opponents, it was easy to say that everything had gone to shit. I didn't need your help, Shizuku, Jitai said, coming into view while Naruto stumbled to his feet. This woman hit real hard. He literally felt like Kurama probably felt that one. It wasn't as hard as Tsunade's punches, but damn was it something else. No, I didn't think that you did, but Setsuna and Kasuna told me to check on you. They've already engaged the target, Shizuku said, and Naruto widened his eyes, as did Sasuke. Sai didn't show an expression, but inwardly he was vaguely concerned as well. As fate would have it, everyone heard a thunderous explosion off in the distance, shaking the very ground that they walked on. Sai and Sasuke shifted their balance, but Naruto was too weak and dropped down. He growled as they watched smoke and flames rise into the skies above. They could see that that location was where they had just sent Yuna and Kakashi if the speed and timing was right. Kyuso, Naruto said to himself before he jumped up. He didn't care. He would take the pain later, but right now. Forgive me, Kyubi. Jikuyugami no Jutsu, Naruto called out, and everyone watched as Naruto flared his Honshu dangerously. Naruto gritted his teeth in sheer pain as it felt like his arms were about to burn off from the burning sensation that he felt. The purple portal slowly started to appear while the sweat began to drop from Naruto's face. Like we're going to let you complete that. Shizuku shouted, holding a kunai. She flung it forward for Naruto's forehead, but she found it blocked by the sword of one Uchiha, Sasuke. He stood between them and Naruto before glancing back. You really are an idiot, Sasuke said while Naruto chuckled. Shut up, team, Naruto replied back while his fingers clenched suddenly. The portal began to spasm out of control while Sai stood next to Sasuke. I'll have to ask about that technique later, Sai said with a small smile, and Sasuke grumbled underneath his breath. It was obvious that this guy was watching them carefully. Actually, it seemed that he was doing it a little too carefully. Sasuke didn't know why they were put under such scrutiny, but he didn't have the time to care as both heard a slump. They turned around and the worst was justified when they saw Naruto on his knees, his hands on the ground twitching slightly. The portal was gone. Well, it looks like we were scared for nothing. I think you're kind of cute kid, but don't take it personally. You never really had a shot, Shizuku said, and Jitai grinned. The others looked back and they could see the dark purple chakra oozing off the duo. Soon the color of their faces changed, turning pale white similar to the outline of a mask. Shizuku smirked to herself and held up a hand sign. Katan, Hibashiri, Shizuku shouted and the flames blasted forward, tearing the ground into pieces. The trio watched the flames coming for them and Sasuke growled slowly. Meanwhile, Jitai grinned and slammed the ground. Doton, Tsuchi Kairo, Earth Release, Earth Corridor, Jitai shouted and the others felt the earth rock quickly reshaping the landscape. Sasuke and Sai, holding Naruto barely to his feet, watched as the earth tried to enclose around them. The only opening that they had was the one where the flames were coming, and very fast. In essence, there was no escape for them. The flames rushed over them and exploded off in the distance. Ha ha ha, see Jitai? That's how you deal with trash. Shizuku said while Jitai snorted to himself. If he were honest, he wished that he had taken them out himself. He never asked for her help. It's not like he was having a tough time, because he wasn't. No, he was just getting into the mood and now she had to ruin it for him just like that. Jitai didn't even get to show what he was made of. Shizuku's form changed back to her original features and Jitai's did the same. You really know how to ruin all the fun, don't you? He asked, looking at the orange flames. Humph, well fuck you then, she replied back. They too began to turn back until they noticed the flames suddenly burst. They turned and neither could hide the surprise on their faces when they noticed the flames swirl violently. No way, Shizuku said before she and Jitai noticed that the flames seemed to splash next to them like water. Both jumped back and heard the sounds of feet hitting the ground. Uchiha no Hanran, Karyu Nenshi, Uchiha Rebellion, Flame Dragon Twister, Sasuke shouted, and with a sudden rip of his sword from its sheath, Sasuke sent the flaming spiraling into the air before they broke apart and in a majestic display of katan techniques managed to converge on their targets like a shower of falling stars as they bashed into the ground with a heavy explosion. Neither Jitai nor Shizuku were seen. Shit, Sasuke mumbled to himself. He quickly hoisted Naruto's arm over his shoulder and shot off into the distance along with Sai. We can't stay here anymore. Sai, make your damn bird and fly us over there. Sasuke pointed to the burning location. Even on my bird that would still be a distance to cover. As expected of Kakashi Hatake and Yunasan. They really are quick on their feet, Sai said before Sasuke growled. Do it, damn it. That attack wasn't meant to kill them. It was a simple stall. Sasuke said and Sai sighed to himself before nodding. He took his ink brush and drew a bird. Ninpo, Choju Giga, ninja technique, super beast imitating drawing, Sai called out and a large ink bird flew into the sky. Sasuke hoisted Naruto on top of the bird while he and Sai jumped on. The wings of the ink bird flapped and they flew off. Sasuke quickly assessed the situation before looking back to the destroyed area. Something's wrong. Why did those guys have small traces of Honshu? They shouldn't be able to contain it if Naruto's explanation of it was any consequence. Sasuke didn't understand, and why did it seem like the Honshu was being forced from his body? It was like something was sapping away at it slowly, very slowly. Sasuke just knew that this was bad. If Naruto's Honshu dropped down, then he wouldn't have a source of power and that really would make him a liability to the mission. Now Sasuke was really worried about Shien's prophecy. As they flew off, Naruto felt the wind in his hair. He opened one of his eyes and the sounds of reverberating laughter echoed in his mind. Yes. 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 This power is glorious. With this power I will truly rule over mankind and everything else. Forget the priestess, her power is useless if I have this power. You will be mine, you and that being inside of you. I want you both. I must devour you both. He laughed and Naruto frowned before the voice faded out. Kyuubi, the hell? Naruto asked and Kyuubi growled. Shut it, brat. You should see the fucking mess that your coils are in right now. You'd better be grateful, damn it. You'd better hurry up and get off this land. If not, then it's more than likely that you will die, Kyuubi said and Naruto frowned. How is that even possible? Naruto asked and Kyuubi shook his head. Hell if I know, brat. I just know that it has something to do with this demon that you're sealing. Somehow he got in here and he's siphoning off your chakra like a damn drug addict, Kyuubi said and Naruto groaned. So that's why I'm running low. How long has this been going on? Naruto asked and Kyuubi snorted. If I had to fathom a guess for you, then I would say as soon as this land came into view of your ship. You had so much Honshu that you probably didn't notice. Now the only thing keeping you alive here is me and your mother, Kyuubi said and Naruto frowned. He had his mother for saving his life again. He chuckled to himself before struggling to make his voice a little louder. Sasuke, sigh. Naruto called, getting the two to turn around. Be ready to intercept. They're going to need us, Naruto said, grunting as he forced himself to lean up. His muscles felt sore, but he persevered through it. You sure that you can even get up? Sai asked while Naruto frowned. I'll be fine. Just focus on what we have to do, Dadabayo, Naruto replied and Sai turned to Sasuke for confirmation. He only got the Uchiha glancing to the Uzumaki before giving a small smirk on his face. You really are a stubborn loser. Orders received, Sasuke said as they flew away from their battlefield, and never noticing two sets of eyes watched them leave with smiles on their faces before vanishing away into nothingness. With Kakashi and Yuna cackling was easily found to be in a sea of flames that used to be the ground. Kakashi jumped back with a narrow of both his eyes. Yes, Kakashi had revealed his Sharingan while he held his father's sword. How did this happen? They were going to get away, but now this happened. Just about a few minutes after they got away from the first fight, they now had their second one. Out of Kakashi's periphery he could see Yuna snarling from off in the distance. Yuna was currently dealing with one of the two assailants while Kakashi dealt with the other one. You chose the wrong group to attack, Kakashi said, tightening his grip on his sword. I'll believe that when I see it, Kakashi. Hatake. Just hand over the priestess and we might consider letting you live, came the voice of a certain pink-haired assailant. No, it was definitely not Sakura. She was right behind Kakashi, still holding the scared priestess in her quivering form. Sorry, but I don't negotiate with the dead, Kakashi responded back, and a tick mark appeared on the assailant's head before he chuckled with a little strain. By my name of Kasuna, I will kill you, Kakashi Hatake. I will also kill the priestess, Cheyenne. Kasuna called and Kakashi growled. He quickly blocked Kasuna with his sword as the pink-haired man drew a kunai. They two glared at each other before pushing back. Sakura, take the client out of here. We'll be right with you, Kakashi said while Sakura grimaced. No, this was just like the last time. Kakashi-sensei, not you too. I can't leave you guys too. Sakura said while Kakashi held his sword in a defensive stance. Remember the mission, Sakura. You have to protect Cheyenne-san, Kakashi said, and Sakura shivered. She bit her lip while Cheyenne frowned. This was what she didn't want. She didn't want people dying for her. Her life wasn't that important. What would it matter if a demon ruled the world? The world was already unfair and it was already ruled by demons. What could be done about it? I can't abandon you. I won't. Sakura said hastily while Kakashi cursed. He widened his eyes in shock when Yuna was sent crashing into the ground. The female Uchiha scowled and brushed her hair back before quickly standing up. Kakashi sighed before turning around and Sakura noticed his smile. This isn't abandonment, Sakura. This is just meeting at a later date, Kakashi said, and Sakura widened her eyes and hung her mouth open. Kusuna took the opportunity and dashed forward. However, he didn't get what he wanted as Kakashi twirled his body and bashed his sword against Kusuna's steel kunai. The two gave of sparks against each other as they glared at each other. You're already dead. You, the priestess, and your group. Kusuna said while Kakashi frowned. Sakura. Leave. Kakashi raised his voice and Sakura stepped back. You don't meet us and I will kick your ass, Kakashi-sensei. Sakura shouted before she dashed off with Cheyenne in her arms. The two ran through the tree branches in a blur. The two forms disappeared into the foliage and Kakashi gave a small smile. He then turned back to his current predicament. You really think you're saving her? You're only delaying the inevitable, Kusuna said while Kakashi grinned. I'd like to think otherwise. Besides, I'd rather not die. My mate wouldn't be happy with me and I also need to smack some sense into my lost friend, Kakashi said, confusing the man, but he had given up on understanding the one-eyed jonin. Kusuna sent a kick for Kakashi's center, but Kakashi raised his leg and blocked it easily. Flipping back, the two dashed forward and clashed once again. Kakashi turned and noticed Yuna weaving herself through her opponent. Katan, Nagar no Jutsu, Yuna said, blowing a stream of fire towards the one named Setsuna. The man jumped away from her technique and flung 6 kunai forward. Yuna blocked them all with her own kunai. Her Sharingan spun wildly in her eyes as she followed Setsuna's movements. The male frowned before he clapped his hands together. He noticed Yuna do the same. Hoping to copy my technique, are you? He asked, and Yuna smirked. Just figured that you would like to share, Yuna said, smiling deviously while Setsuna chuckled. Truly, you are a fascinating woman. It is a shame that I have to kill you, he said, and Yuna grinned. Don't count on it. I still haven't restored my clan yet, Yuna said, but she realized her words and couldn't stop the blush on her face. Setsuna sweat dropped at the scene while Yuna let out a girlish giggle. He heard something about her saying, I'll name you so and so. Coughing to get her attention, Yuna shook her head and turned back. She then realized that she was being looked at weirdly before growling. Katan, Goryuka no Jutsu, Yuna shouted, launching dragon flames from her mouth. Setsuna couldn't even stop his hand signs in time, so he just decided to jump in the air and let it go. Futon, Kamikaze, Wind Release, Divine Wind, he shouted, ushering in a mighty wind from his hands, and Yuna was forced to jump away as the wind jutsu bashed into the ground. Yuna widened her eyes as the wind's pressure was strong enough to cause some trees to tilt their leaves. Imagine her surprise when she noticed Kusuna being slammed into one of the trees before he slumped to the ground. She turned back and noticed Kakashi glaring forward. Yuna took that opportunity to hop to his side and the two stood next to each other. How are you feeling? Yuna asked, and Kakashi snorted. Could be better, he said, and Yuna chuckled. She then felt chakra flare and glanced forward to see Setsuna flashing through more hand signs. Is he insane? At this range I could perform a Katan jutsu and have his jutsu increase my flames, Yuna said while Kakashi frowned. Something's wrong, he said, and Yuna couldn't help but agree. She would have liked nothing more than to use her Jintan and take him out entirely, but for some reason, Yuna was getting a slight headache whenever she used her Menjikyu Sharingan. She didn't know why, but she had opted not to use it unless she needed it. Plus, she hated to admit it, but her eyes weren't getting better. Even now she had a few blurry lines around her target. Yuna gave a low growl while gripping her kunai tightly. Her Sharingan easily found Setsuna's speed and held her leg into the air. If Setsuna was surprised, then he didn't show it as his leg came into contact with Yuna's raised leg. The two actually felt their bones shiver from the contact. They glared at each other heatedly until Setsuna noticed Kakashi jump over Yuna's entire body. He cursed when Kakashi's sword swung at his face. He jumped away and Yuna took this time to use for her advantage. As Kakashi landed, Yuna then jumped and held out her hand. She pressed against Kakashi's back and launched herself into the air. "Where do you think you're going?" Yuna turned around and a kunai was the only thing that saved her eyes from being gouged out as they clashed with Kusuna. The two unleashed a barrage against the other. Kusuna swung his body and stabbed a kunai into Yuna's midsection. Yuna winced and Kusuna smirked. However, that smirk didn't last long as Yuna poofed out in smoke. He covered his eyes, but the lack of sight from that smoke stopped him from seeing the sudden lightning power that came in front of his face. Kusuna widened his eyes as Kakashi's eyes glared defiantly. His sword slowly made its way for Kusuna's face and the pink-haired man was unable to move, being in the air. "Futon, Detapa," came a loud shout. Kakashi widened his eyes before a heavy burst of wind knocked Kusuna away from the one-eyed Heineken member's blade. Kakashi performed an elegant backflip through the air and landed down. Kusuna landed a few feet from him next to his partner while Setsuna had his hand extended. "Thanks, Setsuna. I was almost gonna die there," Kusuna said while Setsuna slowly nodded. They then noticed Kakashi gave an eye smile. "Ma, don't count yourselves out yet," Kakashi said quickly, jumping back, leaving the two to their confusion. Both gasped and a large white cube appeared over them. They tightened their gaze and noticed Yuna far off, her eyes bleeding with 2 fingers on her temple to moderate the headache that was coming with her. "Jin Tun, Chiresu, dust release, dispersing," Yuna said under her breath, and the cube imploded in white light, destroying whatever was inside. Yuna dropped to her knees and huffed. Her eyes turned back to their onyx filling and she could see the hazy outline of Kakashi looking down at her. "Yuna, are you okay?" Kakashi asked and Yuna panted before nodding. Kakashi helped her to her feet as they walked out into the field. They could see the small crater where Yuna activated her jutsu. "I didn't get them," Yuna said, and Kakashi turned to her. "What do you mean?" Kakashi asked and Yuna closed her eyes for a second for some focus before they heard chuckling. "And here I thought the Uchiha clan was entirely dead. To think a woman survived. Most impressive, and even yet one who is able to use the Jintan of Iwa's Tsuchikage." Most curious, Kakashi and Yuna turned to the source of the noise, but they got nothing for their looking before they looked up to the trees and saw a man with waist-length black hair so similar to Yuna's own. On his tree branch were the unconscious forms of Kusuna and Setsuna, but the sight that had them more worried was the sight of Sakura slung over his shoulder. "Sakura!" Kakashi called while the man grinned. "So that's her name. You were all fools to think you could get away from us. To think that I actually had to intervene. Be proud of yourself, Konoha Shinobi, but don't bother. I've taken care of your priestess, and for your subordinate I would suggest you getting her medical attention soon." "I'm in a good mood," he said before he dropped Sakura, with the pink-haired Kunoichi's head falling for the ground first. Kakashi disappeared from Yuna's side and grabbed Sakura's body while sliding across the ground. "You'll be in the same fate as the priestess if you continue." "Well, it won't matter. Soon the entire nations will fall before our lord, Morio-sama," he said before his group vanished in something dark. Kakashi snarled, but he was taken away from that when he heard Sakura scream. He looked down and he noticed Sakura clutching her chest in pain. Her right arm was bulging in a dark purplish color with veins making themselves apparent. "Yuna, can you help her?" Kakashi asked in haste and Yuna cursed. "I only have field medic experience, not actually medic experience. This would be beyond me at the moment," Yuna said, suddenly regretting not taking those medic lessons that Kunoichi were suggested to take before heading out into the field. Both could do nothing but let Sakura scream before they saw a shadow in the sky. The object dispersed and 3 figures landed on the ground. "What's going on?" Sasuke asked, noticing Yuna's form, and Yuna cursed. Naruto, with Sai's help, looked over to Sakura, and he didn't really need to be told anything. It seemed that he would need to be handling sacrifices once again. The thought didn't make Naruto happy, sad, nor angry. It made him more neutral if he gave it a word. Sai, take me to Sakura, Naruto huffed out, and Sai nodded. He dragged Naruto to Sakura and laid the blonde next to her. Kakashi spread out her body while the sweat poured off Sakura's body. Naruto looked at Sakura for a bit before finally placing his hand over her arm. He closed his eyes and gently pushed his honshu into her body. He could feel it being directed into her bulging arm as he had to be careful. Sakura wasn't reincarnated, so she could very well die from exposure to his power, but Naruto could feel the malicious chakra in her arm, and he was sure that being as purifying as it was, his honshu could destroy it, clearing her chakra system and making her arm stop bulging. No one said anything as they watched Naruto work. His honshu met with the dark chakra, and the two battled for but a second before the honshu destroyed every single piece of the vile energy until it was gone. Slowly Sakura stopped screaming and her arm stopped pulsing. The veins disappeared and Sakura slipped back into blissful unconsciousness. Naruto gave a grin before he felt a cloth wipe his forehead. He turned and noticed Yuna looking at him. "Are you okay, Naruto-sama?" "You are sweating," Yuna said, not using his title since Sai was there. "I'm fine," Naruto said, looking up. He noticed a few spirits pointing to where Shien's body most likely was. Naruto closed his eyes and Kakashi took him to his feet. "You're still the leader of our mission, Naruto. What do we do?" Kakashi asked, and Naruto turned to him before looking forward. "Yuna, take Sakura's body. Sai and Sasuke, go ahead. Kakashi and I will be helping me get to the place a few minutes from here," Naruto said, and everyone nodded. They rushed off through the trees, but because of Naruto's sluggishness, Sai and Sasuke blasted ahead while Yuna hands Sakura's body hunched over her own. Naruto and Kakashi were straggling behind, and Kakashi smiled. "A little at a time, Naruto." "No need to rush," Kakashi said, and Naruto nodded slowly. He could feel his body weakening from the lack of honshu. Naruto had never felt so drained before, but he would get through it. Naruto wondered if his mother was feeling the same. He would have to deal with Morio faster than he thought. Naruto slowly watched as the ground beneath them began to blur and his eyelids slowly began to close. "Never. I will never submit to someone like you. You think I care that you are looking for me? I will not give in to you. You are just a brat. You know nothing of the world. You will never be my master. I will never let you command me. I will devour you, your family, your summons, and your priestess. You will not take my soul. I will kill you before that happens." A voice that wasn't as deep as Kyuubi's came forward into Naruto's head, but the blonde didn't reply to the person talking. "Kyuubi?" Naruto called out experimentally, and Kyuubi responded. "Yeah, I heard it, brat. Don't worry, by tomorrow you'll be running off my chakra. You should know how much I have, so you'll be fine, but try not to get too excited," Kyuubi advised, and Naruto just nodded slowly, suddenly letting himself go into some unconsciousness. Sasuke and Sai, far ahead, were surprised at the distance Sakura seemed to be able to cover. Naruto would mumble directions for their group to go, and in about half an hour they finally discovered Cheyenne, or her body at least. Everyone could see her just at a tree. Her body slumped to the ground with a trail of blood hanging from her lips. "So we were too late," Sai said while Sasuke frowned. About 2 minutes behind them came Yuna and her unconscious companion, Sakura, as they dropped to the ground. Yuna laid Sakura down and huffed. Kami, the pink-haired girl, was heavy. "What? Okay, so sue Yuna for not having inhuman levels of strength." "She's dead," Sai said, removing his hand from Cheyenne's throat. "I kind of got that already," Yuna said angrily. She couldn't believe how things had turned out. In another 5 minutes, Naruto and Kakashi came down and they could already tell the atmosphere around everyone that it was confirmed. Cheyenne, the priestess, was dead. What now? Sasuke asked, knowing full well what Naruto was going to do. Kakashi, take me to her, Naruto instructed, and Kakashi nodded without question. Both trudged to Cheyenne's body. Naruto's eyes hazily looked at her form. In anyone else's eyes he was swaying like a tree in the wind, obviously exhausted by some unknown means, but knowing the Uzumaki were famous for their stubbornness, no one stopped him. On the contrary, Sai seemed to be looking at Naruto more intently than before. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, as did Yuna and Kakashi. None of them were sure that Naruto had just conveniently forgot that Sai was watching him. If he did, then he really needed another lesson from Kushina on subtlety. Hey Sai, come help me with Sakura, Yuna said, both to actually help their comrade and try any distraction for Naruto, as everyone noticed the blonde never stopping in his current endeavor towards Cheyenne's body. I'm sure that she will be fine while we rest. By the way, Naruto-san, what do you plan on doing? Sai asked with a fake smile, but Naruto didn't register it. Actually, he didn't even register Sai, as his eyes wearily kept to Cheyenne's form, but something was wrong. The energy around her body wasn't normal, in fact it was actually less than he remembered her having. When Naruto had spent that time with Cheyenne, he wasn't just relaxing while trying to get her away from the compound. He was also feeling her out in the figurative sense. For a girl who never seemed to train or had any shinobi practice that he had guessed, she still had very large reserves of chakra. It was amazing actually. Her reserves were as high as the standard Umbu were, which was about the same as Fuka and Guren's from their Uzumaki blood. It slightly baffled Naruto, as when he was looking at this girl's form it was like now she just had the chakra of a mid-chunin. There was no way that much chakra could leave someone's body even with the amount of time that they had in getting to her, which wasn't that long at all. As Kakashi brought Naruto over Cheyenne, they gazed at her body and Kakashi turned to Naruto. Naruto, what are you going to do? Kakashi asked, but Naruto didn't offer a response. Yuna snarled and clenched her hands while seeing Sai glare forward unmoving. She then widened her eyes when she felt a pat on her shoulder. Yuna turned and noticed Sasuke nodding. Yuna raised an eyebrow as Sasuke basically told her to follow his lead. Loser, if you're going to do what I think you're going to do, then here, Sasuke called. Sai's eyes only left for a second to see Sasuke throw his sword in their direction. Sai narrowed his eyes as everyone watched the weapon sailing through the air. Kakashi quickly grabbed it and Naruto turned back to Sasuke. The two seemed to be talking with their eyes and Kakashi suddenly smiled while Naruto chuckled. Sasuke's right, Naruto. We can't do it without this, Kakashi said and Naruto chuckled. Thanks team, Naruto said and Sasuke nodded. All eyes were back and Kakashi swung the blade letting it shine in the sun. Yuna grinned widely. Unknown to Sai, her eyes had morphed from black to red as she stared at the metal. Thanks to her Sharingan slowing time down for her, Yuna managed to reflect those eyes from the metal into Sai's eyes. Yuna gave a smirk before she quickly placed Sai under her genjutsu. You have 10 minutes Shikio-sama, Yuna said and Naruto sighed to himself before slowly shaking his head in acceptance. Naruto knelt down to Cheyenne and placed his left hand on her forehead. Reveal yourself to me, soul of the deceased, Naruto called out, closing his eyes. They then took their silverish color and Naruto noticed someone standing next to Cheyenne's body, only this wasn't Cheyenne. Greetings Shikio-sama. Never in all my life would I have thought that you would be the one for me to see. I, now, wish I could commit suicide for the disrespect I felt for you before, came a voice, a manly voice. Naruto looked up and he couldn't resist casting a glare. It was not Cheyenne in his presence, but her bodyguard Teruho. What are you doing here? Naruto steely. Teruho shivered under his eyes before lowering his gaze. Your eyes command such respect. It's actually amazing that I feel such unnatural fear from them, Toroho said, but he could see that his triad casual conversation wasn't working as Naruto looked at him with slight irritation, shock, anger, and some relief. He could guess why though. Are you going to tell me, Toroho? Why is your soul bound to Shien's? Naruto asked and Toroho sighed, but nodded quickly. The old bodyguard floated himself to the ground and sat in front of Naruto, the only barrier being Shien's body. I am terribly sorry for the deceit Shikio-sama, but when I was alive my loyalty was to Shien-sama. Even now I wish her the best, but my utter loyalty is to you now. This all happened because of an ability that Shien-sama has, but before I get to that, please don't be angry with Shien-sama. She has had a difficult childhood, Toroho said meekly, and despite himself, Naruto felt a portion of his anger dissipate when he heard Toroho speak of the young priestess. Naruto rubbed the bridge of his nose and sighed. What has this got to do with her? Naruto asked and Toroho sighed. It has to do with why she is the way she is. You see, or as you have recently come into contact with, Shien-sama's unique ability. She has the power to see the future, or more precisely a person's death, Toroho explained to his master. Naruto narrowed his eyes and placed a finger to his chin. He didn't say anything, so Toroho took that as a means to continue. It happened from her eyes. It was involuntary as she could never have any control over it. When someone died then she would know about it. As I told you, her predictions are 100% correct. It was because of this that people avoid her or looked at her with fear. No one wanted to get close to her because they were afraid that they would be next to die if they did. Add to her role of priestess stature, then she was put on another class of society than normal people. She was seen as untouchable because of her mother was also the hero of the land of demons. She sealed the demon Morio back where he was supposed to be. Well, Shikio-sama, this is not entirely true. I must tell you this before I continue, Toroho said, and Naruto narrowed his eyes. From everyone's view Naruto was sitting still as if he was meditating. Him looking at nothing in the air, but they knew the truth. How are you doing, Yuna? Kakashi asked and Yuna slowly nodded. Still holding strong. Little Shurshur wasn't the only one who was a genjutsu prodigy with the Sharingan, Yuna said, holding a small grin. Sasuke grinned and folded his arms while Kakashi chuckled. Meanwhile, Naruto processed that information well and sighed. I see. So that's how it worked out. That way Shien would still be safe as always and Morio would be sealed. As expected of a priestess, Databeo, Naruto claimed, and Toroho nodded swiftly. Hi, I hope you can understand Shien-sama at least a little bit. I know she didn't ask for this, but I wanted her to try and be happy. Despite my efforts she had ended up like this, Toroho explained before stopping, letting Naruto process everything. If Naruto was his old self then he would have understood, but not so much technical stuff. His mother had been adamant about that. Though she wasn't very good at it either. However, Toroho brought Naruto's attention back, making the blonde look at the white soul of the person that was once Toroho. Shien-sama had changed. She started having strange dreams. Dreams that would make her sweat in the middle of the night or even screaming on a couple of occasions. The physicians looked her over, but they could never find anything wrong with her, physically at least. She even checked out emotionally and mentally, Toroho said, and Naruto gave a small smirk. What about spiritually? Naruto asked and Toroho raised an eyebrow, though due to him being a white soul in the sun then it wasn't seen very well. I do not understand, Toroho said, and Naruto looked at the sky. The same thing happened to me a few times. Nothing was wrong with me, but it was just my powers going to another level. I'm sure that's what happened to her, Naruto said, and Toroho frowned. Even if that was true, then wouldn't it have happened while she was young? This only started happening about 11 months ago, and then there was this weird swirl symbol that the maids found at the nape of her neck when they were giving Shien-sama her bath, Toroho said in confusion. He looked back to Naruto and instantly noticed Naruto's wide eyes staring at the corpse of the Saiyan-disguised Toroho. "Shikio-sama?" Toroho asked, but Naruto didn't hear him since his mind was a maelstrom of thoughts. Was it his fault? Was he the reason that she had been having those nightmares? When they had first met, Cheyenne had looked at him fearfully. It was almost like she could feel something off about him. Something that didn't sit right with her. It was almost like she had predicted him. Except she hadn't. "Toroho, how much chakra did Cheyenne's mother have?" Naruto asked, and Toroho looked up at the sky. He wasn't sure if Naruto was avoiding the subject, but he answered nonetheless. "Well, if I had to compare her to anyone, then I would say that as a child she had a Jonin's chakra reserves. My father had been her bodyguard and he told me nearly everything about Miroku-sama. She was always a bundle of energy as a child. No matter how tired someone else was, she was still able to keep going, even for extensive periods of time. To say, she was actually the most fit priestess that the land of demons ever had, though she began to grow up and lose playfulness, but no one could ever understand Miroku-sama's controlled addiction to ramen," Toroho said, and Naruto's eyebrow twitched. "How could you say that? It's the food of the gods." Naruto all but growled out and Toroho blinked. "Strange, Miroku-sama said something on those lines too." Tusan said that she said something on the lines of, "The next one who would die would be my father if he insulted ramen ever again," Toroho said, and Naruto chuckled despite himself. But then there was always that word she would say when she met her destined one. Whenever she was happy she always said "Dadabakuyo," Toroho explained further. For Naruto, if nothing else hit him, then this was a smack to the face for the blonde. However, he had to be sure of one more thing. Did Cheyenne ever have an interest in Fuinjutsu? Naruto asked, and Toroho snickered at that. Ah, those were good days. Cheyenne-sama would be in her room, or outside, drawing on paper or the ground with strange markings all the time. We had found that she had copied the compound sacred seal arts before Miroku-sama stopped her wanting the priestess to have a normal childhood, Toroho said, and soon the smile turned to a frown. Naruto clenched his hands, but kept himself in place. It wouldn't do well for him to get angry right now. "How did you know that?" Toroho asked, and Naruto scratched his cheek. "Toroho, I think she's an Uzumaki," Naruto said, and Toroho widened his eyes to Naruto's words. "A Uzumaki? Shikio-sama, would you please elaborate?" "If this is true, then, more than likely," Toroho said, and Naruto kept up with him easily. "At this point it's kind of obvious. You see, the Uzumaki are from Yuzu no Kuni originally. We had, or have, higher than normal levels of chakra and stronger chakra coils, giving us better stamina and vitality than the average shinobi. We also have an aptitude for Fuinjutsu, as it's what made us a deadly clan during the First and Second Great Shinobi Wars. We also have our nation's dish, which, Naruto didn't have to finish as Toroho connected the dots. Was ramen, Toroho completed, and Naruto slowly nodded while Toroho gasped. "What happened to the clan?" Toroho asked, and Naruto's smile took a downward turn. "Fear happened. Shinobi nations started to fear the Uzumaki because of our genius Fuinjutsu skills, and we were attacked. Our nation was destroyed and Uzumaki fled to all corners of the nations to seek refuge. However, it is my dream and goal to bring back our clan. I will let Uzumaki know that we're not dead and we're still a family," Naruto proclaimed, and Toroho couldn't help but smile. "I see. So it was out of fear for your powers that Cheyenne-sama lied about your prediction. If one thought about it, then you are the opposite of Cheyenne-sama. Where she predicts death, you are the one to revive that death if you so choose. It's no wonder that she was cautious of you," Toroho said, and Naruto slowly nodded. He looked back and he frowned when he saw Yuna's eyes twitching slightly. He didn't have much time left. Anyway, it seems that time is of the essence here, so I will see no reason that you would lie to me, Shikio-sama, so let me hurry. Shion-sama had a prediction that she would die if she stayed with you, but she also knew that as Shinobi you would know if she switched places with anyone and would immediately ask why. So, when Sakura-san was attacked, Shion-sama ran off into the woods far off and from there and met up with me. She said her goodbyes and I did the same, telling her that I know she would do what was right. So I transformed into Shion-sama with the Kage Kagami Shinten no Ho, shadow mirror body changing method. It is a permanent method, but I have no regrets. I saved Shion-sama and now I see that she isn't as alone as she thought. Please Shikio-sama, save her. Take her home and keep her happy, Teruho said as he dropped his hands on the ground, got on his knees and bowed just enough for his forehead to give the impression that it was touching the ground. Being a spirit, Teruho would have passed through it if he went further. Which way did she go? Naruto asked and Teruho pointed off to the east. That way. She should be a fair distance away. She will be near a waterfall cavern just off the side, Teruho said and Naruto smiled. Then raise your head, Teruho. Do not worry about Shion. Take a rest from this life. I will handle things here, Dadabayo. Also don't you worry, I'll bring her back with me even if I have to drag her back kicking and screaming, Naruto said, making Teruho sweat drop, but the sentiment came all the same. Arigato, Shikio-sama, Teruho said before he quickly began to fade out of existence. Naruto's eyes returned to normal and he stood to his feet. Just in time too. Sasuke quickly went over to Yuna, who slumped forward and her eyes forcibly turned to normal, not being able to hold the genjutsu anymore. She slowly planted while Sai blinked. Thanks Sasuke. You really got us out of that one, Naruto said, throwing the Uchiha's sword to him. Sasuke grabbed his blade and nodded while steadying Yuna slightly. Yuna gave Sasuke a look before smiling. She really couldn't help but lean into her cousin's soft embrace. She'd have to show some appreciation later. So what did you figure out? Sai asked and Naruto grinned. Well, for one, Shion's not dead. Seems that there is a little bit of planning in that head of hers. Unfortunately, this is her bodyguard Teruho. If you feel it out, then you can tell that their chakra signatures are different, but it would be difficult if you weren't a Uzumaki. It seems that when Sakura was attacked by that guy, that Shion ran off, and in that time she and Teruho switched places, putting him as the sacrifice instead. While I have to disagree with the method, she still managed to avoid death, but it won't be long before the guys who attacked figure this out also. Sasuke, we're splitting off. I want you, Sai and Kakashi-sensei, to scout ahead. Yuna will take Sakura back to the compound and switch with Yuga-chan. Something tells me that we're going to want Yuna back at the compound on an off chance that something happens, Naruto said and everyone nodded. What are you going to do? Yuna asked and Naruto, with the help of Kakashi, stood to his feet. I'm going to find our runaway and give her a piece of my mind, Naruto said and everyone chuckled, but no one could forget the obvious fact. But are you okay to do that? Sorry, but as you are now, you're only a bother, Sai said bluntly. Yamato and Sakura still hadn't gotten around to teaching the pale boy about the word, tact. Well, I'm not dead, Sai, which means I'm still the leader of this mission. I've taken worse and I'll continue to do so. Don't worry about it, now get moving, Naruto proclaimed and everyone nodded. Yuna picked up Sakura and huffed. Man, are you sure she's been dieting? She's fucking heavy, Yuna said before she dashed off, with the males of the group being so happy that Sakura wasn't awake to hear that. If she was, then they knew that heads were going to roll. Ma, don't go stressing yourself out, Naruto. I doubt that Kushina could handle another loss, especially given how close you two are, Kakashi snickered while Sasuke sighed. Sai tilted his head to the side in confusion. It was ordinary for a mother and her son to be close, especially for people like Naruto who had no parents to begin with. Sai didn't see what the problem was. Blushing slightly at the thought of his mother, Yura and Yuri, Naruto shook his head and pinched the bridge of his nose while Sai, Kakashi and Sasuke flew away, their forms leaving Naruto's view in seconds. The blonde groaned, but steadied himself and closed his eyes. "I'll be back for you, Toroho-san," Naruto said. He clapped his hands together and gave a slight bow to the body before he dashed off, already noting that the sun was going down while he headed his way to his suspected family. Nighttime. By the time Naruto had felt Shien's signature, the sun had gone down and the moon was slowly beginning to form in the skies above. It bathed the land in its illuminating presence. Naruto seemed to forget his pain while Kyuubi fed the blonde Honshu so that the pain would at least not make Naruto's travel more strenuous than it already was. In that time, Naruto had plenty of opportunities in which to think about the information that he and Toroho went over together. It was actually possible that Shien was an Uzumaki, or at least she had some strong Uzumaki blood. Well, regardless of weak or strong blood, she was still an Uzumaki. Though, now that Naruto thought about it, he had figured that Uzumaki had a connection to the more spiritual side of chakra. It had to be more than just vitality and chakra reserves that allowed for only Uzumaki to contain the Kyuubi. Also, there had to be a reason that wherever Uzumaki were always placed a near supernatural being. Mito, Kushina and Naruto, himself, were always around the Kyuubi. Shien had a connection to Morio given her line of priestesshood, so it was possible that the Uzumaki had a compound of priestesses, and if they had a compound of priestesses, then that meant that they also had a shrine or temple. In shrines was always something worth praying to, or for receiving power from. Naruto didn't think about it at the time, but when he had become the summoner to the Shinigami, he had felt a connection. A connection to some place not so far off. It was definitely beyond Konoha, but Naruto didn't know what was out there. Plus he was kind of anxious for Jiraiya's training trip, which was why he couldn't delve into it further. Maybe Naruto would find out sometime or something. Snapping himself out of his reverie, Naruto dropped to the ground as he felt Shien's chakra signature just up the large cliff. Naruto shook his head before he passed the trees and bushes. He walked up the slope of the cliff and finally found himself staring as Shien looked up at the moon. Naruto didn't have to turn around to know that she was probably in deep thought. He couldn't even imagine if he was an enemy and she let her guard down this much. Naruto didn't want to think about it. Actually, rather, he couldn't think about it when he felt Shien close her eyes and lean forward. Naruto widened his eyes as her body pushed outward and she fell from the cliffs. You ask Naruto what he thought at that time, and he instantly thought about ripping Shien's Uzumaki soul from her body, all the while giving her to the Shinigami to spend the rest of her eyes in eternal torment. They say that even suicidal people are just ordinary people on the outside. You'll never know unless you're close to the person themselves, but this was just not something that Naruto could allow. If there was one person he was not going to give the sweet release of death, then that person was going to be Shien. I swear, if this fall doesn't kill you, then I will. Naruto proclaimed mentally before he blurred to the top of the cliff, and without any other thought, Naruto dived off and charged for Shien. He could feel the wind brushing through his face before reaching out his hand. He saw Shien going head first into the waters below before he snarled. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto thought, and by his side came a clone of himself, though the use of Honshu had stung a little. The clone grabbed Naruto's arm and flung him through the air faster while the real Naruto held out his hands. His efforts were rewarded as Naruto grabbed the priestess. At the feeling of hands wrapping around her, Shien opened her eyes fast and noticed Naruto glaring at her. When we land, I am going to smack you over the head for this. Naruto growled out, and Shien's surprise soon faded while Naruto backflipped through the air. Both crashed into the ground and stumbled. Naruto held Shien's body closely as the two barreled over the ground before crashing down. The dust picked up fast, but dispelled just as easily as groans could be heard. Naruto winced before opening his eyes. He beheld Shien on top of him while slightly rubbing her head. The two stayed like that until Cheyenne finally got her bearings and opened her eyes. She instantly stared into her unknown cousin's eyes and blinked. She then looked down and noticed the messy state of her attire, not even counting the fact that she was easily on top of him in every guy's dream. Cheyenne's face lit up before she pushed herself off Naruto's body and crawled away from him. What do you think you're doing? You beast! Cheyenne shouted while Naruto's sweat dropped. Beast? You're the one who tried to kill herself while landing on top of me. Naruto thought to himself before sighing. He got to his feet and wiped off the dust from his clothes. You're welcome, Naruto replied, and Cheyenne blinked. Did he do something that was appropriate to make her thank him? She didn't think so. For what? She asked, and Naruto snorted. For saving you. Just so I could do this, Naruto said as he began to advance towards her. Cheyenne widened her eyes before she slowly began to back away, or crawl away until she felt her back hit a tree. Why, you wouldn't dare, she replied weakly. She watched as Naruto towards over her before raising his hand. Cheyenne tightly closed her eyes and shivered. This would be her life. Fated to die in the woods in the middle of nowhere, brutally raped by a Konoha shinobi. You, idiot. Naruto said as he smacked Cheyenne over the head. If Cheyenne was waiting for something, then that wasn't it. The pain landed on Cheyenne's head before she placed her hands in a vain attempt to soothe her pain. She looked up to see Naruto frowning. What? Was the only intelligible response that the priestess could give. You heard me. Never took you for that type. Look, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but when I'm in charge of a mission, no one is going to kill themselves, least of all you. Naruto exclaimed, and Cheyenne widened her eyes before frowning. You aren't doing anyone a favor. Why don't you just leave me alone? Besides, I'm going to die someday and you're going to die in a few days anyway. Why are we even trying? Cheyenne asked, and Naruto raised an eyebrow. He chose not to respond and looked down Cheyenne's legs. Her long, creamy, slender Uzumaki blood-filled legs. Cheyenne watched Naruto turn away and pinch the bridge of his nose in irritation. You're bleeding, Naruto said. Cheyenne looked down and noticed the small gash on her leg. Cheyenne sighed and shuffled her legs together. However, she didn't get the chance to try and stand before she was lifted off the ground by strong arms. What are you doing? Let me down. Cheyenne ordered before wrapping her arms around Naruto's neck for balance. Calm down. Sheesh, you act like this is the first time you've even touched a guy before, Databeo, Naruto said, and Cheyenne widened her eyes slightly. Databeo? Strange, Kasama had nearly the same phrase. Could he have met my mother before? Cheyenne wondered to herself before shaking her head. She just stayed silent and shuffled closely to Naruto since the night air was kind of cold. Naruto looked down and noticed Cheyenne gazing downward. Why did you save me? Cheyenne asked, and Naruto smiled. Because Teruho wouldn't have wanted you to die just moments have he died himself. I swore to him that I would look after you from now on, Naruto said, and Cheyenne shivered when she thought of Teruho. You wouldn't want his death to be in vain, would you? So stop acting like you're the only one with problems. Everyone has their problems, but those problems work themselves out eventually, Naruto said, and Cheyenne snorted silently. How can you be so happy knowing that you will die soon? Cheyenne asked, and she noticed that they came out of the trees. She felt Naruto lean her down near a tree and walk over to the water. He didn't respond to her just yet before he unfurled his scarf, wrapped it and placed it on the ground. The female light-haired blonde priestess watched as her shinobi escort fell to his knees. Well, as I said, when there is life, there is also death. However, death isn't all someone has to look forward to. If you know that you will die one day, then there are only two things that you can do, Naruto said, and Cheyenne frowned, but listened intently. One is your way. You can feel scared, mope and be afraid until you eventually meet your demise that you've been so scared of, Naruto said first, and Cheyenne would have been angry at him for that comment, but she found that she couldn't retort to him, mostly because what he had said was true. And on the other hand, I can be happy with the times that I have bettering them for my family, Naruto said before he scooped up some water. He watched it over his head before scratching through it, trying to get rid of the dirt and sweat that had surely seeped into it. Naruto's hair slowly began to unravel and drop, losing its spikiness. Brushing his head back and forth, Cheyenne was greeted to a very rare sight of Naruto's hair flowing in the wetness of the water. She couldn't help but slightly widen her eyes and swallow the lump in her throat, the nape of her neck feeling slightly warm as she did so. However, Naruto suddenly spoke. Cheyenne snapped out of her unknown staring and suddenly found the dirt and grass of the ground very interesting for a second. I will find all of my family, and even if it means that I will die, then I will come back and help them because their happiness is my life, Naruto said, turning around. He saw Cheyenne's flustered face before he gave a gentle smile, having forgotten slightly. I never go back on my word. That's my Nindo, my shinobi way. I vowed to find all of my family, Naruto said, continuing on his path to Cheyenne before he stopped right in front of her. He knelt and small as he patted her shoulder. That even includes you, Cheyenne Uzumaki, Naruto said, smiling brightly, and those words rang in Cheyenne's ears. She quickly looked back, and Naruto's the blonde's beaming smile. Uzumaki? What are you talking about? I'm not an Uzumaki and I am not your family, Cheyenne said, and Naruto's smile just widened. Really? Toroho-san told me that you had a very interesting hobby of writing seals on the ground of the compound, Naruto said, and Cheyenne widened her eyes. So what? Lots of people have expressed their interest in the sealing arts. Why do you think that I'm the only one that is capable of sealing the demon, Morio? Cheyenne asked, and Naruto quickly took out a piece of paper. For a few minutes he started to write and draw on it before placing it in front of Cheyenne. What type of seal is this? Naruto asked, and Cheyenne stared at the seal, a little irritated. However, that irritation quickly turned to slight fascination and then into a small sign of obsession. In her eyes, she could see the seal unraveling piece by piece, the sounds of someone coming into her ears in a soft, quiet tone. Cheyenne clenched her yellow jacket and finally sighed. It's just a simple tetragram seal combined with a reverse chakra restriction seal, this making it a full chakra resistor seal, Cheyenne said like it wasn't a big deal. Kyubi raised an eyebrow while Naruto narrowed his eyes at those words. Cheyenne seemed a little uncomfortable under his gaze while Naruto smirked. Cheyenne, this type of seal, to even professionally trained eyes, would easily be mistaken for hack trigram seal. No one can tell that difference so easily, Naruto said, and Cheyenne widened her eyes before turning away. And maybe I was just lucky, Cheyenne said, though neither she nor Naruto truly believed it. Cheyenne, did you run all the way out here? Naruto asked, and Cheyenne blinked. Yes, obviously. I was trying not to die by those ingrates, Cheyenne said, making Naruto offer a deadpan expression. Though you threw yourself off a cliff? Naruto asked, and Cheyenne's eyebrow twitched, but she couldn't say anything and just settled for being silent. What are you getting at? Cheyenne asked, and Naruto looked out into the trees. That even though you've never trained to be a shinobi or done much physical activity, that you managed to get all the way out here. Are you even tired? Naruto asked, and Cheyenne shook her head. Not really, she claimed, prompting Naruto to give a nod. Uzumaki are well known for their vitality and also their stamina. We have more chakra than the average shinobi or even the average elite shinobi. It's no coincidence that you got this far by yourself, Naruto said without turning around. So I ran a little bit, that still doesn't prove anything, Cheyenne sounded once again. Naruto then sighed, and Cheyenne watched as he furled up his sleeves, revealing his toned arms. Naruto raised his shoulder, and Cheyenne widened her eyes. You know what this is, don't you? Naruto asked, and Cheyenne stared at the swirl symbol, the same one that was on the nape of her neck, right on Naruto's upper shoulder. Naruto, judging from Cheyenne's reaction, gave a light grin. This is the symbol of the Uzumaki. It claims that no matter how small the blood we have, deep down we are still Uzumaki, Naruto proclaimed proudly, and he noticed Cheyenne rub her neck. She couldn't deny that, and Naruto knew that she couldn't. There was no way that Naruto could have known about her mark if she didn't show him, which meant that either he was telling the truth and a part of her heritage was kept from her, or they were both just that unlucky. Cheyenne found it to be a surprise that she was slightly hoping for the former. Silence reigned between the two for a little while as the sounds of crickets and other insects resounded throughout the forest. So what now? You just want me to start calling you Oni-chan or something like that? You want me to marry you in some pathetic village engagement? What do you want from me? Money? Take as much as you want, I don't care. Power? You seem strong enough. My innocence? Get in line, too many people have proposed the same thing. What do you want from me? Cheyenne suddenly asked, and Naruto frowned. I promised Toroho that once this mission was done that I would take you home. Back to your true home, Cheyenne-chan, and I never go back on my word. I want nothing from you. Well, I can't say that. What I want is your trust in me, Naruto said, and Cheyenne gasped. Trust? Why would I trust you? I don't even know you. Just say you're scared of dying and that you want to kill me yourself. Just go ahead and do it, I have nothing to live for anymore. I just sacrificed one of my most personal bodyguards just so I could live. That makes me awfully selfish, right? How can I smile when all the people who helped me live have died? What would they say when they see me smile enjoying my life? Who is it that I'm supposed to true? Cheyenne stopped when soft, but strong arms wrapped around her frame. She slightly gasped when Naruto pulled her closer to her body. She didn't see Naruto's eyes in a silver color. Naruto looked up, and all the deceased who had given their lives for Cheyenne all had their hands on her shoulder while smiling brightly. Naruto chuckled and nodded. They would be happy, Cheyenne. They would feel that they accomplished what they wanted. They wanted to see you happy. You don't have to shut yourself away from the world to remember the things they endured for you. The fact that you're alive is proof of that. No. One is telling you to change who you are, but that you live your life as you want to, not by someone else's rule. You are Cheyenne Uzumaki, descendant of the priestesses of the Uzumaki clan, and we give our lives for our family. We won't leave you, Cheyenne-chan. I promise that you will never have to be alone again. Every day you will be surrounded by a family that loves you, cares for you, wants what's best for you, and will look out for you. Don't hide your feelings. Believe me, I know. The mask that we put in front of everyone to hide our pain will eventually become who we are, letting our real selves fade out. We aren't alive to be sad. We are alive to be happy. I dare them to think bad of you for showing emotion. Trust me, they will regret it, Naruto proclaimed, all the while glaring at the deceased who had given their lives so that Cheyenne could live. They all gulped silently, but no one had thought that in the slightest. Naruto didn't hear any sobs coming from Cheyenne, but he did feel Cheyenne's hands dig into his torso a little tighter. She shivered in his embrace while the tears ran down her cheeks. She trembled while Naruto just continued to hold her in the night. Neither knew how long they had stayed like that, but Naruto felt Cheyenne shuffle and slowly began to remove himself from the hug, but as he pulled back he was surprised when Cheyenne's vice-like grip didn't let him go. You aren't lying to me, are you? Are you really my family? Will you never leave me alone again? Cheyenne asked, her voice barely a whisper, making a frown appear on Naruto's face. We will never leave you alone, Cheyenne-chan. Once this mission is over, you will be coming home with us. You will meet the rest of your family and the love or acceptance that you want, if you want. Do you want me to take you home? Naruto asked, and Cheyenne sighed. Hi, take me home, Oni-sama, Cheyenne said, and Naruto widened his eyes before letting them settle. You got it, Cheyenne-chan, Naruto replied, and Cheyenne nodded fast. She then let go of the hug and both blondes stared into each other's eyes. Naruto could see Cheyenne's were a little puffy, but nothing more. Now then, let's deal with that bruise, Naruto said quickly, making a second trip to the pond and with a scoop of water splashed it over Cheyenne's leg. The female light-haired blonde winced, but just waited for Naruto to do his thing. Naruto then tore a piece of his torso. He'd get Karen to sew it back later or have it remade at their standard tailor, and wrapped it around Cheyenne's leg. There, that should hold for now, Naruto said with a smile. Cheyenne slowly nodded while Naruto got to one knee with his back turned. What are you doing? Cheyenne asked, and Naruto smiled. Your leg isn't well enough for you to walk, so I'll take Sakura's place this time, Naruto said, and Cheyenne blinked. She didn't say anything and just crawled to her cousin's back. She got herself comfortable and Naruto hoisted her into the air. I lied, Cheyenne said, and Naruto turned back to her in confusion. Huh, was the blonde's intelligible response. Cheyenne couldn't stop the smile on her face, but she tried to sound serious. I lied about your death in 3 days. The entire prediction was made up, Oni-sama. Your presence scared me. I saw visions of you endlessly, well, not you, but of a person who could never die, and when you appeared I got that feeling. I was afraid of your ability to never die, that I just had to challenge it, so I made the prediction that you would die to scare you, but it didn't work as I had previously hoped. I'm sorry that I did that. Your power just amazed me, Cheyenne said, and Naruto chuckled. Hey, that's no problem. I knew you lied, if only because you were shivering when you said that to me. I'm a pretty good judge of character, if I do say so myself. Though, are you suicidal? Naruto asked, and Cheyenne blinked before her face turned red while she held her head down. And no. I never was, Databakyo, Cheyenne said, red in the face before Naruto stopped. Databakyo? Hee, so even you can get excited, huh? Naruto asked, and Cheyenne suddenly gasped before huffing. I'm embarrassed, all right? No one, not even Teruho, has heard me say that before, Cheyenne said, and Naruto nodded slowly. Yeah, sure, Cheyenne-chan. Well, let's get this out of the way. We'll continue in the morning, Naruto said, hopping to the trees. He set Cheyenne down on a branch before he leaned back and fell asleep. It wasn't even 10 minutes that Cheyenne heard snoring and shook her head. Oni-sama, huh? Well, it has a nice ring to it, I suppose. Though he's still an insufferable jerk, Cheyenne thought before she couldn't resist the smile that came on her face. She slowly advanced to Naruto's position and gently laid her head on his chest. Cheyenne, now quickly changing her name to Cheyenne Uzumaki, felt her cousin's heart beat softly before she closed her eyes and went to sleep in what she figured was the best rest that she had in a long time. The two Uzumaki slept in the trees as the moon shined high in the sky. Neither noticed Cheyenne's necklace gleaming brightly in a purplish, warm light before it quickly faded and disappeared, leaving them none the wiser. Unknown location, it could be said that none of the gang of 4 had ever seen their leader so happy. He was actually cackling with that same sickening grin that they all had grown accustomed to. Yomi-sama, now that the priestess is dead, what would you have us do? Came the voice of Kusuna while he tended to his limbless right shoulder. It seemed that Yomi had seen them fight, and for them failing to deal with the priestess themselves, as he had to step in, then Yomi issued punishment. Kusuna had lost his arm to Yuna's Jintan, and there was nothing he could do about it except scream in pain for hours until the painkillers set in, allowing for Kusuna to work himself over. We should go find that Konoha shinobi and finish what we started. You saw how they ran from us like cowards? Jitai asked, getting a chuckle. From Shizuku. No kidding. I expected more from such big names. Damn, I really wanted to face their leader though, the Red Death. I'd make sure that she stayed dead too, Shizuku said before everyone widened their eyes to see her backhanded across her face as she crashed into the ground. She grabbed her cheek when she noticed Yomi looking down at her. "Fools, do you not know what you are being belittled?" Yomi asked, and everyone widened their eyes. What?" Shizuku asked while Yomi snarled. His fists shook, no trembled, as his nails dug into his skin. "The priestess is not our objective anymore. Now we are to capture Uzumaki Naruto for our plans. What dwells within his body is a power that Morio wants, and he will not be denied. However, we will rest with this victory today." "Go to sleep," Yomi said before he began to walk away. The others glanced to each other, but no one said anything as they decided not to question the orders of their leader. Meanwhile, Yomi groaned as he gripped his head painfully. He slammed his body into the wall before he dropped down to his knees. What do you mean? I wrung her neck dry myself. There is no way she could still be. Yomi growled as more pain pressured his head, making him snarl at the pain. "Insolent mortal, do not question me on the things that I know. You did no kill the priestess, otherwise I would have felt it myself. Cheyenne is still alive, and I feel that she is now more stronger than ever for reasons unknown to me. You must bring Uzumaki Naruto to me to be devoured, and you must kill the priestess again. You are such a useless fool that it sickens me that you are the one carrying out my will," came a dark demonic voice while Yomi gasped when the pressure lifted. "It will be done, Morio-sama, I promise. Just give me a little more time," Yomi spoke, and Morio frowned before snorting. "Humph, whatever. If you really want to get in my good graces, then you will follow what I say to the letter, no more no less, understood?" the self-proclaimed great demon shouted out, and Yomi nodded. "Good, then let us begin preparations. After all, the best time to unseal and devour is nighttime. Tomorrow, my power will be at its peak and the seal on this accursed stone will weaken. All I will need is a catalyst. Uzumaki Naruto will be my catalyst, and with the power that flows through him, I will burn this world in a sea of flames and bring about a new era of torment and hatred to the pitiful mortals in my eyes. Now get out of my sight. You sicken me," he said, and Yomi nodded before he quickly walked off while the distant sounds of Morio's cackling could be heard in the reaches of Yomi's mind. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.